The following is rated TV MALSV. It contains strong language, violence, and nudity. It is intended only for mature audiences. Viewer discretion advised.
What's up, everybody? This is Bear State of Affairs. No, this is Bear Their Soulz. Bear State of Affairs is coming up. The Johnny Santucci, and look at Steven Zimmerman. You are looking like you're ready for battle, brother. How are you?
Doing all right tonight, guys. How can you hear me? I had to do a few different things to my setup before I started.
We hear you perfectly, man. And
awesome.
Your camera is awesome, like always. Did you guys see who the Bulls picked with their first pick of the first round?
Oh, no, I did not.
No.
I could not care less about the Bulls lately, to be honest with you.
I hear you, man. After this pick, you're going to care even less.
If it's not Cooper Flag, I don't care.
Yeah, really. Some French guy, so all I can say is Sacre Bleu.
Noah Sengue of France.
Yeah. Is that tall white guy that they kept getting mocked?
No. No. This guy, standing foot reach is 9 feet 2 inches. That's pretty amazing.
6'9", 194.
I think that is the guy that I was seeing them getting mocked with. Yeah.
Really?
I think so. I could be wrong. But again, I'm very out of touch on the Bulls. That is not my forte.
Oh, Jeff Bullis got the wrong link too. I sent the wrong link to Zim. I sent the wrong link to Jeff.
I was here 10 minutes early for a change. Instead of showing up like way late, I was like, "Oh, it's fine. Nobody's here." And I get the notification on my phone that you went live, and I'm like, "What the?"
When you get here 2 hours early, like Aldo and I, let us know.
I was wondering where the fuck are these guys, man? It's like 3 minutes to showtime, and then Tooch pops in because he's got one of those universal links that works for any show. And I said, "Well, we'll start without fucking Jeff and so fuck them." Well, we've got Anthropology 2000 in the chat, and he is already making stupid comments about Caleb Williams. So we'll see how long this lasts. Remember, this is a Bears bar room, bro. That's Jeff. We'll let his camera settle in. Put that penis away, dude.
And I don't know Anthropology, but he needs to go have a drink of gay water.
There you go. I am not thirsty, but I'm not even happy. I'm not even happy, fellas.
Is this our counterpart to Happy Dad seltzers?
Yeah, how did you find that gay water?
I don't know. I find everything, although. You don't want to know.
I can only imagine what websites led you to that.
Yeah, really. Jeff, I apologize for sending you the wrong link, and I sent it to them too. So thanks for being on, brother.
It's all good. I was actually a little ahead of time. I recently did this. I did a browser clear on my computer, which has been forever since I did it. So I was trying to get everything figured back out, and I'm sitting there waiting. I'm not seeing anybody, and I'm like, surely the show has started by now. So I go to my phone. It's like, yeah, it's live. Okay, I think I got the wrong link. Something ain't right here. Yeah. So I was actually on time. I really was.
I trust you were. We got a lot to go over. We're going to start the show as we do every week with Johnny Santucci's Bear State of Affairs. Then Zim, Jeff, and I will react to that. And then at the bottom of the hour, we got Zack Pearson, who covers the Bears for the Bear Report. He's going to be our guest for 30 minutes. So we'll pick his brain about what he has seen and heard over at Hallis Hall. And then at 10 p.m., 1 hour after the show begins, we will have a free-for-all. Everybody will take their clothes off, and we will talk Chicago Bears. By the way, if I take off all my clothes, I get to still wear my Depends, right?
Hey, nobody can see if you don't have any pants on as long as the camera is up this way, all right?
That's right. That's right. By the way, my niece gave me this great cup. She's staying with us for a few days here, and I've talked her into being the barroom Barbie. So she's going to make an appearance in the next week or two, and she's going to share her vast football knowledge. Maybe we can talk. Tooch, maybe you can talk her into doing the Bears weather reports that we would use. Yeah. We would use these Mexican weather girls with their shapely figures doing the weather for the Bears game. Maybe you could talk her into doing that. Guys, if there are no objections, why don't we start with Tooch's Bear State of Affairs?
Let me give you guys some food for thought.
Exactly. That's what we've been thinking. Oh, by the way, after in that last hour, I got a little video from Thinking Football that shows some of Caleb's strengths and some of his weaknesses. And I think it'll be interesting for us to chat about that. Well, the topic of Caleb and all that pressure, and Tooch brought up this bromance thing, which I loved, and he's going to talk about. So we got a lot of Bear stuff coming up, and let's start it off, as we always do every week, with Bears State of Affairs.
We're finished talking.
All right, Bears State of Affairs, man. Bears 2025 off-season, week 25. What's happening, Barflies? Well, the Bears are off until training camp, but let's check in with the team anyways, because, as we all know, there's always something going on with our favorite NFL team. And speaking of training camp, the Bears released their training camp schedule today.
Love it.
Yeah, they'll open up on July 25th. And they'll close camp on August 15th. Yep, you heard that right. We are 1 month away from Bears Training Camp 2025. Aldo.
That's a W.
Woo!
Yeah, and the big story this week. Yeah, Caleb and Ben Johnson's budding romance. Yeah. Yeah,
I love you, dude. I love you, bro, Montana.
That was classic. Yeah, well, last show we talked about how it's so important that this relationship, this marriage, that it works out, or the season will likely be a disappointment for everyone. And sure, Caleb could have some growing pains learning the new offense. He could ad-lib, improvise, fake it, phone it in, etc. But this relationship, man, it's the one relationship that will determine the future of the franchise.
I love you, Holmes. I love you, Broseph Goebbels.
Yeah, the season and the next several years of seasons in the Ben Johnson era, and depend on the successful marriage, the successful football synergy, if you will, of these two men. Yeah, and so far the two men are doing their best to make sure they are in sync.
I love you, Machacha. I love you, Tico Broje.
Okay. Every time.
Yeah, we hang out in his office and we just have lunch sometimes. Things like that, said Williams in a recent interview at Fanatics Fest. Quote, we're building this bond and relationship to be able to last a while. I know Bears fans, it's year after year typically, or every other year, where coaches and quarterbacks specifically are in and out. And our goal is to be here for a while. Woohoo, yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, it really sounds like a Bears bromance, Aldo.
Yes, that sure does.
Yeah, Caleb sounds happy. Yeah, after all. Yeah, this guy sometimes look like he might chew your head off.
I know. Does he fear him or love him?
Yeah, I'll tell you this. I am so glad to hear Caleb say that their relationship needs to be built to last. And Bears fans have suffered through more than our fair share of head coaches and offensive coordinators. Yeah, Bears fans have suffered through two of the longest losing streaks in our team's history under the last coach. Yeah. Times have been tough for Bears and their fans. Coaching and management, they've been a perennial issue. It's been the biggest reason why the team has not enjoyed any long-term success since the 80s. It's the reason why the Bears' last two first-round quarterback selections have failed here. It's been so bad that although the biggest story this offseason has been Caleb and his father's efforts to explore avoiding the franchise with the reputation as a place where quarterbacks go to die. Yeah, that's how bad it's been, man.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's refreshing to hear that Caleb and Ben are working on building continuity and sustained success.
That is personal.
It's been missing dearly since the days of Lovie Smith. Yeah.
There's Lovey.
How bad has it been since Lovie patrolled the sidelines as Bears head coach? Oh, I'm about to tell you, Aldo.
I knew you would.
Yeah, since Lovey, the Bears' record has been 76-120. Yeah.
God.
Yeah, that's 44 games below 500, Jeff Willis. Yeah, this offseason feels different. Even though we've been told that the Bears once again won the offseason. Yeah.
Always happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember we won the offseason last year too, and things, well, they didn't work out. Yeah, if only the Bears could win the regular season as often as they win the offseason, Steven Zim Zimmerman. Yeah.
Bullshit!
Yeah, this offseason feels different though. This new coaching staff feels light years better than the last group of coaches. Yeah, to be honest, the last group seemed more like salesmen than coaches.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So while Ben and Caleb work on fixing the Bears' offense, it's the defense that worries me. Yeah. In a recent article for Sports Illustrated, Bears beat reporter Gene Chamberlain wrote that the Bears' defense really hasn't beaten many good quarterbacks. Yeah, we haven't won many games the past 3 seasons, to be fair. But here's a list of quarterbacks the Bears have beaten the last 3 seasons. Yeah, Trey Lance, Davis Mills, Mac Jones, Taylor Heineke, Josh Dobbs, Bryce Young, Brian Hoyer, Sam Howell, Malik Willis, Trevor Lawrence, Andy Dalton, and Will Levis.
Jesus.
Well, not exactly a murderer's row.
Well, maybe.
Yeah, we did beat Matt Stafford, though, without his top 2 receivers, who beat Jared Goff out in the cold. And we beat Kyler Murray, but most of those names on that list are backups or heading toward the outside of football. Yeah, it's obvious the Bears also realized the defense was a problem after Matt Eberflus. They went out and hired one of the best defensive coordinators in the league, and Dennis Allen, to fix the defense. Yeah, and to be honest, it's a defense that has a lot of questions, a lot of players with something to prove. Mm-hmm. The Bears traded for Montez Sweat, signed him to a big contract, then watch him struggle through double teams and nagging injuries to post a 5.5 sack season in 2024. Yeah, I'm wondering how long it would take for the Bears to look for pass rush help outside the organization. Yeah, and after Bears defensive tackle Andrew Billings was lost to injury, the Bears defense took a nosedive. Billings had the 6th best pass rush win rate, despite being double-teamed at the 3rd highest rate in the NFL. Only Chris Jones and Dexter Lawrence saw more double teams. And can Billings return to dominant form past injury? Yeah, that remains to be seen. But defensive line was an offseason priority. The Bears injected more pass rush with Grady Jarrett and Dayo Odingbo.
We're going to be aggressive.
That's him. I'll get to him in a minute. But the latter's mostly unproven, and the former's 32 years old and entering his 11th season. Defensive line, it's not the only area where there are question marks. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Middle linebacker Tremaine Edmonds, he was also brought in on a big contract and hasn't exactly lived up to it. Doubtless he has something to prove. His linebacker teammate T.J. Edwards has outperformed him, and he was rewarded with a new contract this offseason.
What the hell? Oh, my God. No way.
Yes, well, one of the unquestioned leaders of the defense, Jaquan Brisker, he missed most of last season with concussion issues. He'll be playing for his 2nd contract, and he needs to prove that he can stay healthy. And not only that, but every safety on the roster aside from the rookies are out of contract following the 2025 season. Yeah, this guy's got a lot of work to do, Aldo.
Sure does.
There's a lot of question marks, even though we won the offseason. Yeah, but Bears have to be built to last if they're going to contend for a Super Bowl. So, while Ben Johnson builds this new-look Bears offense, if the Bears are going to compete, the defense has to step up, Aldo, and that's Bears' state of affairs.
I'm so fucking scared right now. You shut up.
Everyone on this show's a dog and a loser. Not John. He's the best, except for me. Except for me.
Dude, I thought we were gonna have a positive show, and then you throw that bomb on us, all these facts and figures, and telling us the defense ain't shit, and you say, "Yeah, thanks." Holy shit!
Have a drink of gay water, Aldo. He's happy.
That's for that guy in the chat that keeps talking shit about Caleb. But what do you think about that, Jeff? What Tooch said about the defense?
Well, I mean, to be fair, they're in a transitory period, so you never really know for sure what you're going to get. I mean, that being said, Dennis Allen does have a track record of success. So everywhere he goes, he builds elite level defense or close damn to it. So I don't know. I mean, everything you say is always factual, Tooch. Everything that you come up with is always right on the money. So I can't disagree with it, but I will say I'm pretty confident in Dennis Allen's ability to get the most out of this defense, regardless of what happens with the linebackers and everything else. Edmonds, I know there's been a lot of people who've been both naysayers, and there have been even people who have been more on his side, I guess would be a good way to put it. So I just think that, like I said, I do have confidence in Allen, but we'll just have to wait and see because, again, we are in a transitory period here.
What do you think, Zim?
I think that's for sure. I don't know, man. Like, it's that time of year where, like, it's hard to put too much weight into any of this, Like, I really want to be positive, but it's easy to see the negatives. And at the same time, it's like, all we can do is look at these facts and figures like John's done for us so well here. And, you make a lot of good points, but again, it's that time of year where we can just as easily spend all day coming up with counterpoints for it all. So it's not that I disagree with anything you said. It's that I don't agree with anything this time of year, just because we got like a month, like you said at the very beginning, we got a month until training camp. That's when we're going to see this all come together. And I'm really excited about that part, whether it's positive or negative, because that's what being a Bears fan is all about, is like, we're in it for the haul, whether it's good or bad. And we've already been through 2 of the worst losing streaks we could possibly see. So it's not like it could be a whole lot worse this year. Right. I mean, and that's kind of where my mentality is at with it all right now. Like, how can it be worse? I just don't see it being worse. So from there, I got to take that hint of positivity and sprinkle it on top of it all.
Let me give you some more positivity, Zim.
Norman Rockwell says so. But Tooch, let me challenge your contention there, because I think when we look at the stats for last year's defense, they have to be totally skewed because of the dysfunction that there was with the Bears head coach, who was the defensive leader. The fact that the offense was ruined by an incompetent offensive coordinator, so there was not much of a chance for complimentary football, and that there was some injuries on the defense, like you mentioned in your report. So there's some, I don't think the Bears defense last year was all that bad. And in fact, Amina Kimes has a podcast, and her latest episode, she hands out her rankings for the top 10 defenses. And I was shocked that the Bears didn't even get an honorable mention. She listed her 10, then she listed like about 7 other honorable mentions. And I was like, and you're not including the Bears on there? The Bears weren't that bad last year. I mean, come on. I think that they could have a really strong defense. And of course, it all starts in the trenches. And hopefully Deo and the interior defensive line is going to help change things, and we'll get more turnovers and have that top 10 defense I expect them to be.
On paper, it looks good. I mean, like I said, the coaches definitely feel different. I mean, but can't get much worse. I mean, that was the worst coaching staff in Bears history.
Sure thing.
So I mean, we definitely have made improvement there, but in spite of all the improvements, whether we won the offseason, I still think this defense might have some holes. I want it to be different. I don't want it to be bad and stuff. But like Zim said, it's a transitory year. They're installing a new offense, they're installing a new defense, but at the same point, the NFC North is wide open. All 3 other teams have taken some hits, whether it be coaches, players, injuries. So I think there's a chance. I think the Bears were listed as like in somewhere in the 15 to 20% range of taking the NFC North, of winning the NFC North.
Ooh,
so I mean, 1 in 5 chance. That's a chance.
Mm-hmm.
I genuinely feel like this division is a 1 in 4 for everybody in the division this year.
Yeah,
anybody could be good, anybody could be bad. The Packers are as mid as we've ever seen them. The Vikings are completely an unknown. The Bears kind of in that same category, just more with their coaching staff than their roster. The Lions are weakened, like significantly weakened than where they were last year. I'm curious where, I'm not to say that they don't have holes. I'm just curious where you see the holes personally, Tooch, because overall, I think this defense is much stronger than last year. I think they addressed where there were holes. And to be honest, if they were running the same scheme that they ran last year, I can completely agree that they have holes, but they're running a different scheme this year. It's less of that Tampa 2-4-3 and more of that nickel 4-3. And that, I think, actually plays to this team's strengths, especially with a guy like Tremaine Edmonds, who we talked about in that Bears State of Affairs. I think he could really actually improve a lot and impress some people this year, and potentially even show some people why he was paid that contract he was given if he shows out the way that a guy like Demario Davis did down in New Orleans with Dennis Allen. Because this guy has all the same traits as Demario Davis, but he's about 6 inches taller.
Can I just say something real quick before you go on, Tooch? I think you're on to something there, Zim, because I've been kind of thinking about this a little bit lately. And when you say, well, what's the weakness? What's the glaring point that everybody wants to point to? I think for the most part, it's like we're kind of worried about, is there going to be enough pass rush? Is there going to be enough pass rush from this team?
Well, and I think that's it. Yeah.
Look, I can't think the reason I think that question is because everybody saw the Dio bringing in Dio and saying, well, is that really the tip of the iceberg that we need? Is that going to be good enough kind of thing? And I can understand the question there. I do think he's going to be better than we might be giving him credit for because they're going to do some different things with him. The one thing I will say, the more I've been thinking about this with Dennis Allen and how exotic he is with his blitz looks and his pressure packages and whatnot. And again, we can't forget about the interior of the defensive line. You were talking about that, Zim. And one important aspect of that, too, is Andrew Billings coming back and being healthy. That's part of the reason they weren't as good last year. When he went down, it kind of threw things off, obviously. So him being back, and he was really starting to be able to rush the passer pretty damn well, too, in the last couple of years, which is something he didn't really do so much in his past so far. So I think that's going to be something to consider. Grady Jarrett being there is going to be something to consider. Being able to move Odangbo inside. Austin Booker's gotten bigger from what we've seen. Does he have anything for him to give us this year in the pass rush department? And again, the exotic blitz lookups, they're going to send Kyler Gordon, I'm sure, in blitzes. They're going to send Edmonds in blitzes, which he's very, very good at. I'm sure they'll send Edwards on occasion. They'll send Brisker, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
So they're going to do these things. They're going to send different guys. I think they are going to get more pressure than we might believe they will. I think this defense is going to be pretty damn good.
That's it. And don't forget, of all people, Kevin Byard might have had the hit of the season last year for the Bears. Yeah. So, they've got the package and the players to do it. So I like where it's all trending towards. Again, though, we're still a month out. I'm leaning positive. I'm sprinkling the positivity on top of everything. But, let's be real. We're just talking heads for another 28 days. So...
Well, let's add one more talking head to this discussion. It is a gentleman who covers the Chicago Bears for Bears Report. His name is Zack Pearson. Zack, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on. And I think that's actually a really good point. It is a month away, and it's like talking head season. But
exactly.
If we all took a month off, it would be pretty boring. So I'm down for it.
Yes.
Hey, are you in the Chicago area or are you out west? Because I saw you posted something from a West Coast ballpark.
No, I'm in the Chicago area. I was actually in Arizona last week, and it was funny because it was like 105 there, but it felt so much better than what was going on because of the humidity. So, I was actually at the White Sox Diamondbacks game today, and I took my son, and it lasted about 3 innings before we had to go home. Before he was like, "Yeah, I'm tired."
Yeah. Oh gosh. And the tickets were not free, right?
No. Well, it was funny because I think I paid more for parking than I did for 2 tickets, 6th row behind like the Diamondbacks dugout, which is crazy.
Wow. Zach, thanks a lot for being here. I'm going to start with a question about you, and then I'll turn it over to the 3 other guys who are going to pepper you with Bears questions for the next 30 minutes. What I want to know about you is you and I first had interaction, became buddies, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago, something like that. So I'd love for people to kind of learn a little bit about your career and how it is that you came to be the Bears beat reporter for Bear Report.
Yeah, I mean, I've always loved sports. I've always had, interest in sports. I kind of picked up the writing thing in like high school with like newspapers and stuff like that. And I just, as a kid, I was kind of fascinated with newspapers, seeing my grandfather read them, and always would kind of bring one to school. I never kind of put 2 and 2 together until about high school. And I just never really had a problem writing stuff. Like I didn't dread like long essays. I think there was one college paper I dreaded writing, and it was like foreign affairs for political stuff. And it was just like, got to be a 10-page thing. That was like the only thing I hated doing. But I essentially just started writing for websites, started a website. I got on Twitter right when it was like just started, 2009. I just kind of just used it back then, for what it should have been and what it was in 2009, and just sharing your thoughts before it kind of expanded into what it is now. And then, I was lucky enough to do like a non-paid gig at the Bear Report for the first year, which, sucks. But at the same time, I had a different job, and I was able to afford to, live and kind of like get through it. I know that's not everyone's case.
Sure.
But, and I would tell people this, like people looking to get into writing, just bust your butt and trying to put your name out there as much as you can. And I even say, like, it's not only writing, you have to be able to do multiple things. Like now you have to be able to do social media. You have to be able to do podcasting, editing podcast, editing, writing, social graphics, Photoshop, all that stuff is very important. And then I was fortunate enough where the old publisher was kind of moving out of the business and, asked me if I wanted to take it over. And I've been doing it ever since then, which was 2017, I think, full time. I remember our first game in a press box was Bears Eagles week 2. Carson Wentz's like first primetime game. The Bears lost at Soldier Field in like Monday Night Football. And
welcome to the rest of your life.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I tell people this, it's not a job for me because I love doing it so much. It is a job. But I love doing it so much, but also, man, it has been a lot of losing seasons. Like it takes a toll on not only me, but the people that cover the team. And I know, like, people like to get on the beat reporters and stuff. That's fine. But it's like, we want them to win too. Trust me. My page views are through the roof in 2018 and when they win big games.
Yeah.
It's hard talking about the negative stuff, which unfortunately has been the last 8 or so years, most of those years. So,
yeah. If you were to do a bar chart of the views that our shows get during the season, it usually goes like this. Yeah. First week, it's real high because there's hope and expectation. And then, wow, Zim is nodding his head up and down because he also used to co-host a White Sox show here. And the bar chart would just be like underneath. You can't even see it.
Hopes and prayers can only carry you for so long,
Yeah, that's doing a White Sox covering the White Sox is a dedication, man. I am honestly covering baseball because it's so long. Like you cover the A's, the White Sox, the Marlins. It's some rough stuff, man.
Well, what's real rough is we finally stopped the show just because, again, we're finding it hard to keep doing it. And then this season, it's like we finally have hope for the first time in the last 4 years. So, what do you do then? And it's like, coulda, shoulda, woulda, right?
Wait till they start playing 500 ball and then resume the show. That's what I say.
we got a lot of other life factors affecting that.
I hear you.
So,
I hear you. All right, let's get to the Bears stuff. Well, why don't Zim, you start your question for Zach, and then we'll go clockwise.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, Zach, I know you're Chicagoland area, and you were Bears first and beat second. So I'm just curious, what your history, growing up with the Bears is, what kind of your memories are following the team. And I know you kind of touched on it there and how you got into the beat, but just describe, some of your fandom and some of, maybe some tailgates you went to, some games you went to as a fan rather than as a reporter.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that because I like talking about that, and I feel like not enough people ask that, or they think like the fan aspect shouldn't be a part of it. I think it has a place in covering the team. Growing up, I grew up in Rockford. My dad raised me as a Bears, Cubs, Bulls, sort of Blackhawks fan. I really wasn't a big hockey household. I remember those. I don't remember much of the early '90s teams. I remember mid '90s. My first jersey was like Neil Anderson. Loved him as a running back. Loved Curtis Enos. Kind of a thing for running backs. Anthony Thomas was like my second jersey. And what's crazy is my mom took me to a mall and she's like, for your birthday, you can pick one jersey. And it was either Anthony Thomas or Brian Urlacher. And I picked Anthony Thomas, which I eventually got an Urlacher jersey. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, like a lot of losing too, still. Like it's tough. Like everyone that got to grow up in the glory days of those 80s teams and early 90s was, very, very lucky. I've seen the Bears go to the playoffs 5 or 6 times in my life. I'm 36. I think that sounds about right. Or at least what I can remember. But yeah, I mean, I always had a fandom. I'd go to training camp whenever I could in high school with some friends, driving to Bourbonnais. I actually started like writing more fan type blogs before I actually got a paid gig, and then kind of had to take it more professionally. But yeah, I just remember like random games. I love history. That's another thing about me. I love Americana. I love kind of like small town America. I love sports history. And I just, remember weird, wacky games, throughout the Bears history. I like players that maybe a lot of players don't remember. Like Curtis Conway was one of my favorite players ever, which is kind of like crazy because, I don't know how long he had a stint here, but yeah, I remember weird things. Like I remember I don't know if it was a preseason game. I remember David Terrell scored a touchdown. I can't remember who they're playing, and he grabbed the pom-poms of a cheerleader and started to do a dance, and he got flagged for it. So that's like the type of weird stuff that goes through my brain in terms of a fandom for me.
Love it. Tooch.
Hi, Zach.
How's it going?
Recently, I have some fond memories of Rockford, first of all. Okay. World War II days, I used to take my son for the World War II reenactment.
Midway Village.
Yeah, Midway Village.
Yep.
Oh, cool.
Yep. So fond memories of Rockford with my son. He's 26 now. But on paper, everything looks good for the Bears, on paper.
Yeah.
There's no question the coaching staff is light years ahead of the last coaching staff. So people are feeling pretty good. But again, there's a lot of players that have something to prove. Give me some players you think who have the most to prove.
Honestly, I think when you look at offense, I'll take out the Caleb Williams because I think that's kind of an obvious one for everyone. I think the Bears are going to go how he goes. I look at DeAndre Swift because they didn't get the running back. They got kind of an on guy, but they weren't able to get Travion Henderson, who they really loved. He's going to have a bigger role in this offense. He's going to have to. I look at him. I look at Darnell Wright as well. Like I want one of those Pro Bowl type years at right tackle, just like a cornerstone piece to the franchise. Someone that you can definitely pin locked in there at right tackle, and you don't have to worry about. I think we're getting there. And last year he had some bad moments, but the entire offensive line did. It was just a mess. Defensively, honestly, I'm very curious how Jaquan Brisker looks when he returns. Yep. We've seen him out there a couple practices. Does not look like he's missed a step. I mean, he's got a very big personality, and I think that's okay to say because I think he plays, with a heavy heart and he plays emotional. And he's out there in practice doing his celebration. He's fired up. He's yelling at players. He's running around. You can tell he's practicing hard. So I think him getting back there with Kevin Byard is important. Kind of for that back end of the defense. And I know these are kind of some obvious names, but like Montez Sweat, I mean, you're going to have a pass rush. And he dealt with a couple of different injuries last year. I think the one was like a cleat to the shin. I actually saw it in the locker room. He had a big bandage on it. And we were kind of talking to him, a little bit off the record and stuff. And he's like, yeah, that hurt. And for a guy that big and that strong to say that hurt, I'm like, that probably would have put me in the hospital or something like that. But, he's not going to use it as an excuse. He's not that type of guy. But it did impact him. And I think he's got to be better this year. He's got to stay healthy. He has to get there to the quarterback. Those are four. I'd say Tremaine Edmonds is another one too, because honestly, I think TJ Edwards has been the better linebacker the last 2 to 3 seasons they've both been here. Those are kind of the bigger names for me. Braxton Jones would be another one if he wins the starting left tackle job. Kind of same thing with Darnell. I don't think Braxton will ever turn into a franchise left tackle, but if he can be out there and give you 16 starts, 17 starts, play well, that's good. And if he can't, and he's your backup left tackle, it's not a terrible left tackle to have either.
Is it in the Bears' best interest for Ozzie Trapillo to win that job?
I think so. When you draft a kid like that, second round, and I know some of the physical things were kind of the negatives on his scouting report. He's a smart kid. He is really smart from what I've heard from him. He's smart technical wise in terms of position and technique and all that. I do think you draft him in the second round, you want to make an impact. And I think if he starts, you have a legit backup ready to come right in at left tackle, in Braxton Jones. If he doesn't start, I don't think it's the end of the world, because I think you'll see him starting at some point this year, especially if Braxton gets hurt or maybe struggles.
Right, because I'm thinking you have your starting quarterback and your starting left tackle on rookie contracts.
Yes.
Two of
the most important positions to have on rookie.
Or the highest paid.
Highest paid.
As well.
Yep.
But, yeah, go ahead, Aldo. I know you're
ready
to jump in.
Jeff, go next.
I'm gonna ask Zach something kind of. By the way, nice to meet you, Zach. I'm
nice
Jeff.
to meet you too.
It's I'm gonna ask you kind of something similar to what we were talking about earlier before you came on. We were kind of talking about the defensive line and whether we thought we'd get enough pass rush from there. So I kind of want to ask you about that, but also like, where do you see maybe an issue depth wise on this roster outside of that? Or is that, the case where that is the biggest depth issue?
Yeah, for me, that's probably the biggest depth issue. Maybe running back too. I don't know. I think with the running back position, we kind of it was a big storyline just because, they were looking for a running back this offseason. Can Roschon Johnson stay healthy? What will Travis Homer give you if he makes a team, which I think he will for special teams. But, and Kyle Monungai. Behind Swift, there's not really much proven. But the biggest to me is the pass rush. I do think they addressed it a little bit. Dio, if he has a big year, that's going to be a good signing. For me, I have to see it first before I can fully believe it. But I think Grady Jarrett will help. And I think the addition of Grady Jarrett playing alongside Andrew Billings, you can kind of do some things Dennis Allen can with his defense. I'm curious if they kind of move around Gervon Dexter a little bit. He played a different spot in college. Was asked to do different things at Florida. But so far, we haven't seen much from him lining up on the outside or anything like that. We have seen some kind of fun combinations. Montez Sweat up the middle, one or two plays. But this is all stuff they're still trying to work in. But, yeah, I still think it is the pass rush. Now, could Austin Brooker develop? I think that's a huge plus because then you have a legit guy behind those two. But we're still going to be waiting for Dominic Robinson to kind of develop. He had that first game of his career where he had 2.5 sacks against Trent Williams. Has been pretty quiet ever since then. So, yeah, I would say it's probably got to be pass rush, but also linebacker behind Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards. The rookie Hippolyte, Amen is still there. Noah Sewell, can you trust any of those three if one goes down? And I think they're going to use some not a lot of 3 linebacker sets, but I think they're going to use more than kind of we expect, or at least that's what I've seen a little bit here in OTAs, and they've kind of mixed guys in as well. We with Tremaine gone, missing a couple days, and or not. I'm sorry, TJ missing a couple days during OTAs in minicamp.
Zach, I got 2 things for you. Number one, my niece Lauren thinks you got a nice mug.
Oh, thank you.
She's our barroom Barbie. And number 2, I'm interested with you answered Tooch's question and said that you think it's I'm forgetting the phrasing, but the relationship of reporter with a team, and you think that in some cases it's good to be a fan. Did I get that right?
Yeah, I think it's good to add a fan perspective in a way.
Okay.
And maybe not even like the beat reporters, but like, guys who do podcasts, guys who go to training camp, like, guys like that in independent sites too. I think it's good to have that space. I know, there's probably some people that look down on that, and I don't. I think everyone deserves an opportunity. I always think that it kind of makes my job a little easier too, in terms of I could go back on Twitter and potentially look at something I might have missed. Kind of things like that too.
Yeah, and the reason I ask is because guys who come from old legacy media,
Jeff Agrest.
Yes, exactly. They follow the rules of journalism, and that they don't root for a team. They want to make sure that they're being impartial because they are adversaries of the organization. And what I mean by that is they got to report the bad stuff too. And if you develop too close of a relationship, you might get suspected of not providing the news. Why is it that the Chicago Bears media in town rarely gets a scoop and it goes to the agents? Is that because, they said something to hurt the Bears media and they won't give that to a Zack Pearson or a Brad Biggs or somebody? I'm always fascinated by that, just because of the fact that I spent about a dozen years in Chicago media. And so just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's been times where, I feel like, and I don't want to speak for anyone in the media room, but I feel like the media room should get more local scoops with the Bears, where I feel as a lot of the national guys get them. And I'll tell you a perfect example. I think it was David Montgomery. It had to be the COVID year. There was no one at practice. There was like 15 of us allowed, even outside, and we kind of had to space out. It was 2020 and 2021. And Montgomery slipped on a handoff in a drill and did something to his ankle. And we obviously can't report any of that stuff. And then, we're all kind of looking at our phones 30 minutes later, and it's a national guy who has the story. And it's like, we're all looking around like, we're here. We literally have the story. And if we tweet that, we get probably a slap on the wrist. And if you do it multiple times, you'll probably get your credential or talked to. But, I do think it is hard. It's a hard line. Like, obviously, when I say bring a fan perspective into it, I'm not in the press box cheering or anything like that. I think that would be a little more unprofessional. I've had that happen one time. I've seen in a press box where I won't say his name, but a pretty big national reporter was cheering for a team where he kind of grew up watching against the Bears.
So he wasn't cheering for the Bears. This guy.
No. There was a team that he kind of grew up with, and it was a little like, all right, what are we doing here?
Yeah,
that's his credentials.
Yeah. It was. He was big enough.
Tell us his initials. Tell us his
I can't. I don't. Just in case. I'll say this: he was a big enough guy where he probably wasn't going to get his credentials pulled through the NFL.
No, Peter King.
No, it's not Peter King. I'll give you that one. Not Peter King.
We don't need a name, just an address.
It's got to be Mike Florio.
That's an email address. But yeah, it is. Tough to mix it in, but I think it's needed too. Like, I do think like having that good balance. And look, I would, I get it all the time in my mentions. I would love to report every good thing that Caleb Williams or Justin Fields did in training camp and not say the negative stuff. But if I do both, I have people complaining that you're too negative, you're too positive. I'm like, I'm here to report to you guys what I see. If you disagree, that's totally fine. That's your opinion. I'm just showing you what I see. And you get the comments like, "Oh, you're a homer," or "Oh, you don't. Why do you hate Justin Fields? Why do you hate Caleb Williams?" I'm like, honestly, I don't hate any like players or anything like that. Like very, it never had a problem, but it does get a little tough adding that fan mix in. If you kind of get what I'm saying,
Sure, absolutely. No, thanks for sharing your thoughts.
Yeah,
on that.
while staying professional too.
Yeah, go ahead, Zim.
Tooch, I'm going to pass it over to you. I'm not going to lie. I came in a little underprepared today. I didn't realize we were going to have you on, Zach. I did what research I could, but most of my questions I've got for you, I'm going to save for the back end of the interview. Perfect. We're talking Bears. Tooch, I'm going to throw it over to you to talk some Bears.
I got a couple for you.
Just checking his notes.
I think he froze.
Oh, did he freeze up?
Oh, I thought he was posing for another one of those pornos he did in college.
What a timing, right?
Go ahead, Jeff.
I think did I freeze there for a minute?
Yeah.
We got you back now.
Sometimes it's hard to tell. You got that same stupid look. I'm just kidding. I'm just playing with you. I love you. They froze again.
I think he did.
Go ahead, Jeff. Ask your question. Yeah, every time I say, "Hey, Jeff," Tooch unfreezes.
Yeah, that's.
I love it.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Was I frozen there for a minute? You guys were all frozen.
No,
happened a couple of times. Yeah,
you were the key guy frozen. Go ahead, ask your question.
I'm just wondering who's like the most. Of all the people you talked to in this new organization, whether it be players or, new regime, I should say, between the players and the staff, who of all those people has been your favorite to either talk to or witness in action or whatever the case may be with that? Just who's been your favorite so far of all these people?
Man, I'm trying to think. It's an obvious answer. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else in the new regime. Actually, you know what? I will give Antoine Randall. When we got to talk to the assistants that one day, we got like 30 minutes in a room. We could go table to table. Antoine Randall, Eric Bieniemy were probably the two that stood out to me. And I just liked Antoine Randall because aside from the football stuff, we talked about his high school basketball career. We talked about his high school football career, his family, his friends in the area. He remembered a couple games I brought up. He brought up Ronnie Fields and Kevin Garnett and guys like that. But just in a football aspect too, excuse me, talking to a former player who's now climbed the coaching ranks and he's assistant or associate head coach and will probably be up there. Probably will get a look at a head coaching job eventually. You kind of like see it through their eyes and see how they try to teach some of these younger guys. It's a different game from when he played. But yeah, I love those two. And Bieniemy is he's a firecracker. He is awesome to talk to. He's awesome to watch. And then obviously Ben Johnson is just so refreshing from what we've had here in Chicago. Like he might dance around some answers, but he's going to give you something where, it's not like the snarkiness or the total deflection of the question from previous regimes.
When he announced the 4 players he thought had impressive OTAs, that was so refreshing to actually hear a head coach go that far in complimenting players.
Yes, and it was asked the day before, and he made sure. He said, follow up with me on the last day, and I'll tell you. And he very easily could have deflected that, but that was really impressive to see.
Indeed. Go ahead, Tooch.
Well, I got one more thing real quick, Tooch, before you go. I just to kind of expound on Eric Bieniemy. We hear a lot of people talking about him, mostly because of what he's doing on the field, like the coaching he's given on the field. Well, what's he like in like more of civilized society, I guess would be the way to put it.
Very down to earth, like calm. We see him out there like yelling. He's calm to start. I think he gets fired up when he talks football. And he's explaining things. He's got a passion. You have to have a passion to do this job. Football coaches they're just wired differently. Football players are wired differently, but you could like see with him, you could kind of tell in my years of doing this, you kind of tell who's being like very like genuine and real, and who's kind of just trying to get through the pressers and like, you know, all right, I have to do my media session. Here it goes. He wants to like do this, I think, and he gives you really good answers. He's just, it's weird. He's calm, and then he can kind of like get into that football stuff where it's like very, very passionate.
Very cool. Go ahead, Tooch.
All right. Hopefully my connection to StreamYard is a little bit better now.
Yeah, you're moving.
I ran an internet test. It said I'm like blazing fast with a great connection, but who knows? All right. I want to go back to the Bears run game. You were talking about Travion Henderson in the draft. I'm pretty sure that was their target. They got sniped by the Patriots. After that, it took them the full 7 minutes to make their selection. Of course, Luther Burden was still there, who a lot of people, you know, thought should have been a first-round pick. In fact, before the season, he was projected top 5 overall, so they couldn't pass up the value of Burden. But after Travion Henderson was sniped by the Patriots, who, you know, they didn't need a running back maybe as badly as the Bears. The game plan kind of like went a little bit off script, and there were times when I thought they could have gotten some pretty good players. Now, I like Kyle Monangai, but I want to ask you if you agree with that, and whether or not you think after, you know, if DeAndre Swift goes down, like how much trouble are the Bears in without their lead dog?
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine they're probably in some big trouble. And, you know, it's a shame he had a slow start to last year, because I think he kind of came on strong towards the end, middle, you know, the long run against Washington. Yeah. And, you know, it is what it is now with running backs. I mean, you could pretty much draft them and plug them in. You know, there's been a little bit of a resurgence now with Saquon and last year what he did, and now Derrick Henry, and then you have Ashton Genty coming in. I think they got sniped on a couple running backs too.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like when they made a couple of those trades, I think the Oregon running back was still there, and then he was gone. They traded, and then there was another running back. I can't remember his name. I forget where he was from. Yeah, I'll think of it eventually. But I think they kind of got sniped. But I do think they really like Travion Henderson, and I think he was their guy right there at 39 before the Patriots kind of took him, and I think he definitely would have been the pick. From what I know, they loved him, and they thought he could be a good fit with DeAndre Swift. So, yeah, I mean, if Swift goes down, I'd be a little worried about this offense, just because, you know, Roschon, 2 years now, the league has had 2 injuries, 2 concussions. Kind of have to, you know, pay attention to that. But yeah, they'll be in a little bit of trouble if Swift goes down.
For sure. Zach, I know OTAs is, you know, limited information that you can get out of seeing the guys toss the ball around. But one thing that I'm very concerned about, not very concerned, but concerned about with Caleb is his accuracy. Yeah. We saw him in terms of deep passes surprisingly miss more often than I anticipated he would as a rookie. But the even more surprising thing were on short passes, guys 5-10 yards away, and he seriously missed. Just based on what you saw in OTAs, did you see something that say, yeah, his accuracy is getting better, or it's the same or worse?
It's a great question.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a very good question, because I can go through last year and, you know, numerous games. It's like, just take the check down. And there was times when you said he missed it, there was times he wasn't looking at it, and he tried to force it a little bit. I don't know how much that was just the turbulence of last year, where he kind of felt like he had to do more than he should have. It's different in college, man. We see him make these Superman plays because you're faster and better than 99% or 98% of the college game. It's the other way around the NFL. I mean, there's a lot more guys that are faster. There's linebackers that are fast. There's safeties. So I think a lot of that was a refresher for him, where he's like, okay, I got to stop doing this eventually and start hitting the checkdowns. I do think we're seeing it a little bit more. The only problem with, you know, the OTAs and minicamp, you kind of said it, you're very limited, but like 7-on-7s is probably a drill that really the ball should never hit the ground.
That's
ever
right.
From the offense or defense. If it's hitting the ground, there's something wrong. The 11-on-11 stuff, we did see a little bit checkdowns and taking it. And that's because the defense has had really good coverage too. Like they're going against a really good defense. So I'm starting to see some positive signs there. I've noticed kind of watching his footwork a little bit, the mechanics. I'm trying to pick up things and go back and see. I know the foot placement's different when he's taking the snap. Nicholas Moriano actually asked me that when we were up there watching. He's like, "Do you remember it was his foot this way, that way?" And we tried to figure it out. And I think Nick eventually got it where it was a little different. It was kind of back in his college days, but that's something Caleb is wanting to work on himself, which tells me he's not only listening to coaches, he's going back and he's really diving into the film. Along with the short throws, I think we got to see that deep ball a little better. You know, we've seen a couple in OTAs that were kind of off the mark. But I mean, it's not the end of the world. I think it should get cleaned up, hopefully. And I think Ben Johnson will be fine for him. I think it's going to be really good for him. But we got to get that accuracy kind of fixed and take those short throws. Extend the drives. 4 to 5 yards of play is not the end of the world. It's going to extend the drives.
Well, and a short pass to a guy like Luther Burden III could be 5 yards in the air and 95 yards total passing. Zim, Zach is giving us a half hour, so we're a little over. Why don't you ask him the last question, and then we'll let him get on to the real business of watching the NBA draft.
We're catching up on Love Island, me and my wife.
My wife take away from wife time.
No, you're all good. She did bedtime, so I got the next couple nights. But yeah, we're big into the Love Island stuff. So it's,
man, I heard a lot about it. I have not watched the season, but I heard it's pretty.
The Bears
pretty
players are into it too.
Is that right?
I'm telling you guys. It is like must watch. Last season was just must watch TV, and I'm the only reality. I like Big Brother and Survivor, and I'm kind of not into like the.
I'm a Survivor fan.
Yeah, I'm not really into the romance type stuff, but man, this stuff it's good television. It's like a car crash. Like you just can't, like look away in a way.
Yeah, the wife and I have been looking for a new show. Maybe we flip it on one of these days.
Check it out.
It sounds like every night new episodes. Is that right?
Every night but Wednesday. So this is our catch-up night. Saturdays is like a it's like a video podcast to recap the week. So you essentially get Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday.
Okay, wow, pretty wild.
Before he asks this question, I know Aldo, you said you're a Survivor guy. What do you think of the cast for
the upcoming one? Fantastic.
Yes.
It's that's for the season after this upcoming one, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Love it. I got to say to everybody, if you're gonna watch one reality show, please give Survivor a chance because, it's a goofy concept. A bunch of 25 people start off in an island, isolated, and they gotta, survive by outwitting, outlasting, and outdueling whatever the other one is. But the human aspects of these people competing for $1 million is beyond fascinating. I mean, my wife and I really get into it, and we have a bunch of friends who watch it too, and we talk about character motivation and who did this and who that. I mean, it's really fantastic. Well done show. Tooch, you taking notes on this?
Writing down some notes, yeah. I mean, how long has it been on the air?
Survivor,
like 20 years, 25 years,
20 plus years. They're in 50 plus seasons.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
it's a long time.
It's half as old as Jaws.
That's right. It's evolved too. It's changed so much since the first. I remember the
2000.
first
It's 25 years old.
I highly recommend it. And like Aldo saying, like even the players, like when there's a lot of money on the line, they're not like sometimes they're not willing to cut the neck off of their best friend. Sometimes they are, which makes it so thrilling, but so frustrating at the same time.
Exactly. It's really good stuff. Go ahead, Zim. Ask your last question.
Yeah. Hey, so just to wrap up, I always like to end these interviews with a different topic. We talked Bears for the last half hour, and I like to pull back about that, bring some humanity back to it all, because that's what the rest of this show is for. But obviously you're very knowledgeable about the Bears. One look at your Twitter page shows, or X or whatever the hell we're calling it these days. One look at that shows that you're really just a connoisseur of all sports, of all athletic activities. So I have to ask you, if you were covering a sport that wasn't football, full time, day in, day out, what would you pick? And what team, if you were to follow a team too, You know, if you want to get that into it, if you just have to pick a sport, though, that's okay.
I'll give you a couple answers here. If I could go back and do any time period, any team, it'd be the 90s Bulls, 100%.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that's
a reporter's dream, right?
Yes, that's the easy answer. I knew a couple people I've talked to later in their life where they covered the team, and some of the stories are like not all out there, or just still like,
well, that's just it. It's not only the on the court dominance; it's how interesting they were as individuals off the court as well. It's a unique combination that you don't have with any other dynasty out there.
Yes,
except for maybe the Aaron Hernandez Patriots.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's fascinating. And I don't even think The Last Dance touched on the surface of what they could have gone into. The same thing I thought with the Brent and Aaron Hernandez, like the Florida documentary they did, the Swamp Kings. They left out. If you look,
they barely scratched that.
Oh man, like I was reading some message boards, the bar brawl against Florida State the night before a game. Like there's some crazy stuff that the stories are not untold about a lot of these teams. I would say right now it would have to be either soccer. I played all my life. I really got big in the Premier League within the last 10 years. I love the opportunity to cover someone like Chelsea or Liverpool over there. Golf is another one that I've gotten really, really into. I think it'd be fun covering. Actually, Josh Schrock, who was with the Bears beat for 2 years. Me and him kind of, got pretty close, and he's covering golf and does a great job. And I think he's got an awesome job. He does a great job over there. So I think that'd be cool. Those would probably be my two. I think college athletics are fun. I've talked to some people that cover college sports like on a full time, and man, you are busy every single day. I think coaches even say like I have to recruit the same kids multiple times per year, and as a reporter, you have to keep up with those same kids and recruiting. So college is kind of it's a tougher one, but I'd say golf or soccer would probably be my favorite thing right now to kind of cover.
Which sport, from a reporter standpoint, is it best to find girls?
Oh God! I
Jeff
couldn't
wants
tell you. I couldn't even tell you.
Words in my mouth here.
Honestly, I could not tell you. Happily married, so I'm.
It's a good answer.
Yes.
Zach, you are a great sport. We've known each other for years. I've been following your career, and everything you do is worthy of mention and applause. I really am glad that you could spend some time with us, brother.
Yeah, no, thank you, guys.
Can I do one last one?
Yeah, for sure.
Do you agree with this statement?
Oh man, you're putting me on a spot. You're putting me on a spot.
I'm glad you did. Let's hear it.
Oh man, I don't know what.
You can change your mind.
Yeah, so I actually did, like when I went to the schedule, I got to 10 wins right when the schedule came out, and I was actually talking on on Sirius XM, earlier, and like what is over under 8.5. I'm like, I got them now at 8, but I can see 9. I think right now they can be a playoff team. But I said this. I think Caleb Williams and J.J. McCarthy are going to be two of the biggest factors in the NFC North. I think if McCarthy's good, that Vikings roster is loaded. I think they're a really damn good team.
I think so too.
The Caleb's good, I think the Bears could be a really damn good team. So, you know what? Just for the sake of it, I'll say yes right now. I think they're a playoff team. I think they can. Yes. And I do appreciate you guys having me on and letting me talk here and give you guys some answers. Let's do it again. Maybe training camp. I'll give you an hour next time. And
I'm calling you up after the season finale of Love Island so that you can give us a recap.
What is that? It should be a couple. That's right. That might be right when training camp starts. I think the season finale or close to it.
Oh, okay, excellent.
We'll have a lot more stuff to talk about. Training camp and Love Island.
Exactly. I'll send you a date.
Works for me, guys. Let me know.
Brother. Thank you, Zack Pearson, very much of Bears Report. Hey, anything else you want to plug before?
Thanks for being here.
You take off? Anything you want to plug?
Just, I'm on Twitter at Zack_Pearson. I always like to say this to people, be kind to everyone. I think the world needs a lot more of that. And, I always challenge people to try to do a positive thing in your life every single day, holding the door open for someone, saying hi to someone that's by himself. I think a lot of positivity helps everyone. And I think that's it. I appreciate, again, having me on, and you guys do a good job and do good work. So keep going, and I'll be enjoying watching some episodes here down the line.
Sounds good, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
Zach.
Take it easy, guys.
Zack Pearson of the Bear Report. What a great guy, right?
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah. Good guy. Hey, while he was on, Zach Sullivan asked this question that I'd love for all of us to chat about. He said, Zach says he's bothered by Caleb complaining about not getting enough help with film study. Has anyone ever heard mention of that type of thing by any quarterback before? Comes off sounding entitled. I got a problem with that, Zach. I don't get that at all. I believe that what Caleb was saying, and he actually explained it in his press conference, was he just wanted somebody to help in analyzing what he's looking for. I totally agree with that. You got a rookie quarterback. You've got and he's learning a whole new system with a brand new offensive coordinator that he's never had any experience. Whole new league, whole new players on his team, players he's never scouted before. And so he was just asking for some assistance. It's not, and I think that is what most quarterbacks in the NFL provide for their, most coaches provide for their quarterbacks. I don't know. You guys disagree with me or agree with Zach?
I agree with Aldo. I think the media narrative got a little bit out of hand on that one. I know that there was some scenes of Eberflus and Caleb watching film together.
Right.
So it was. I'm not sure the narrative was accurate. If he wanted help, I mean, I could understand saying, "Hey, what am I looking at here?" You know, the Pac-12 didn't play a lot of exotic defenses. What am I looking at? You know, just a little help just to young kids need reassurance sometimes. I don't think that's anything but natural for him to, want to better understand, what he's looking at during the film. As far as him not putting the work in, whether it be in college or in the pros, I think that he's, proven that he's willing to put in the work.
Yeah. What do you guys think, Jeff? Zim?
I definitely think there's some nuance to it. In the story itself, he even came out in his presser and said, like, look, I think there were some the exact word wasn't misrepresentation, but that's basically what he was saying. That what he meant to say was, I was more or less looking for like ways to expedite the process. Like, what should I be looking for? Like in particular with this offense, what we want to do, what do you want me to watch for? What are key things at the NFL level that I haven't been doing at the college level for me to be looking out for, things of that nature. And I know I'm sure they had film sessions with them as a team and whatnot, but I think he was more or less looking for a little bit more like, hey, this is our franchise quarterback who is a first-year player. Maybe we should spend a little bit more time with him and make sure he's getting it the way he needs to, kind of thing. And he probably just didn't feel like he was quite getting that the way he needed to. And I think that was more or less what the case was. That being said, Zach, I mean, I kind of understand where you're what's the word I'm looking for? Like you're not as confident, I guess, in it because lack of confidence because of the fact that he has, he was such a highly billed prospect coming out. Now, that being said, if you guys watch Gabriel Talks Football here on his channel, Greg was talking before the draft many times about how there was some rumblings about how Caleb was and whether or not he was the kind of guy that you wanted to come into your building and be your franchise quarterback. Now, for the most part, he squashed most of those rumors, but there has been, from what we've seen, some kind of maybe a little bit of truth to what was going on there. There were some issues with him not wanting to be here. So,
what are you talking about?
there was something there. But that being said, I do think, Zach, that from what I agree with you guys both, that he's got he seems like he has the work ethic, the drive, the want to, the desire and whatnot. But we're in a different generation of kids nowadays too. Not everybody comes out and is firing on all cylinders and they just have that drive, that motivation that a guy like Joe Montana had or a Tom Brady had. That's not everybody has that these days. And it does take a little bit for these guys to learn that, especially at the NFL level. So I don't think he's going to have a problem with it. That's part of the reason why Case Keenum was brought in, to kind of help show him what it looks like.
Great point.
So I think that I think he's going to be okay. I think it's more or less just, he wanted more help in the area of like, how should I be doing this at this level?
Right. Yeah. Just to expound on that, like I want to build like a little allegory, a little example for everybody with this, right? Think about a job that you've had in some time in your life. It might be your first job, stocking shelves at a grocery store. It might be your most recent job, a nice white collar 6-figure job, right? Regardless, we've all had a job like this at some point in our life. We crush the interview. Okay. So we find the job we like, we go in, we crush the interview. We talk to our new boss. It seems like everything's going great. And then we get to work on the first day and they set us up in our area to train. And our trainer sits down with us and says, you know what? It actually seems like you have a really good handle on this. I don't really need to be here for you. I'm just going to go. Let me know if you have any questions. You do your thing. And then it's like, what the fuck? It is my first day here and you just left me high and dry and I really need a hand with this shit. Like, it's got nothing to do with how prepared you are. It's got nothing to do with your work ethic. It's got nothing to do with anything other than the team around you failing you in that particular instance. And like, it's kind of like that feels like what happened to me. Like, Caleb went into this situation expecting just a little guidance, just a little bit of assistance. And they were like, Caleb, dude, you're nailing this. Just keep doing what you're doing. And he was like, I don't feel like I'm nailing this. Can somebody please give me a hand? And they were like, no, trust me, you're good. And it's, it's that secondary reassurance, that it feels like, you're talking, Jeff, with like this latest generation and not necessarily having that same drive. And I don't even know if it's even that. It's more so just needing the affirmation that what they're doing is the right thing,
That's true. That's true.
So,
and I'll just say one other thing too, is like, I think that there's probably a maturity aspect to this too. He's a young kid, 21 years old. I mean, he's still growing up. He's still learning, You're talking about he's playing football against grown men who have families and educations and everything else that and experience in life and football that he doesn't have yet. So again, I mean, you're right, Zim. He probably just needed to be shown a little bit more. Not necessarily he doesn't have that drive, and I probably shouldn't award it necessarily that way. But
no, but it's still a good way to bring it up. Yeah.
It is a different generation. They're a little bit different nowadays, but at the same time, I think he just probably needed a little bit of like I said, a little bit more knowledge base, somebody show him a little bit more how it's done at that level. And like I said before, I think that's a big part of the reason why Case Keenum was brought in to help show him that way.
At the same time, from Shane Waldron's perspective, I don't know how many people here have been in that kind of managerial role, that kind of overseers type role where you're on thin ice. You're trying to cover your own ass while still training a team, while still developing the people below you. That is a very hard position to be in. Let's not get carried away. I'm not defending Shane Waldron by any means here. All right. He deserved to be canned by all accounts, but that is a very hard thing to manage. That's a lot of balls in the air that you have to juggle, especially with the kind of, how much pressure was Shane Waldron under? We all talked about the pressure that Caleb Williams was under to come into the league and be this number one pick, to be this generational talent that we hadn't seen since Andrew Luck. How much pressure was on Matt Eberflus and Shane Waldron? And I know we talked about this before the season, but how much pressure was on those guys that they just were not equipped to handle?
He was literally shaking on the sideline calling plays because he was so nervous and under so much pressure about his job. So because there was so much at that time already about like what is happening here? Is this the right guy for it? Is this a disaster in the making already kind of thing? So, and it turned out he got fired not long after that. And then so did Eberflus. So, I tend to agree. I really do. What do you think, Tooch? Do you have anything you want to expound on that with? Yeah, that's a good way to put it. 68 times or whatever it was. Yeah.
He was having a rough season, Jeff.
Yes, he was.
That is not AI. That is an actual shot after he was sacked. He just laying there.
Who put that on the screen, by the way? Was that you, Tooch, or was that Aldo? Because that was
Tooch.
He's a lot happier now, though.
Yes, he is. Look at that.
What is that van there? Is that an Astro?
a lot happier.
Yes.
Check this out, fellas. I was doing some surfing on YouTube and ran into a channel called Thinking Football, and they break down tape. They got their own Patreon channel, but some of their stuff is available on YouTube. And they did what he described, the host, he doesn't list his name in the credits anywhere, but what the host of Thinking Football said is that he has posted 2 videos on Caleb when he came into the league and after the league. And the latest one, he titled it, things that Caleb Williams is worrying me, and I thought, oh, okay, this is clickbait, but let me listen to the guy. Now, he actually starts with Caleb's good things, and I selected a 1:20 portion of that. Let's look at what he highlighted as just some of the good things, because he goes on for another almost 10 minutes highlighting Caleb's good stuff from last year.
He was by no means perfect in 2024, far from it, but there were encouraging signs of throws to spots and windows at all 3 levels. That tells me the guy isn't going to be a total bust, even if the ceiling is never reached. 3rd and long allows Houston to back up and play at the sticks, leaving small sideline gaps as the only real way to attack. The double chips give him time and protection, and Caleb's able to time this at the cut, throwing to the perfect spot to move the long chains. Throwing before the cut is a prerequisite in the big leagues, and here's a nice one to the deep spot. Driving it from the top of his drop back with Odunze still yet to turn, he's rifling this past the outstretched hand to get back to fair territory. Attacking the middle is where you make your money in the NFL, and here is a really good post ball into the Jags' deep dropping cover 2. In an empty set, Caleb always looked more comfortable, able to decipher the defense with the spread out look. The Jags are too static, and Caleb's timing this before Odunze has even cleared the window. It's in rhythm, and Rome dodges the safety for 10 more. Playing against his new coach's old team, this is a ball he'll be asked to throw a lot in Ben Johnson's offense. The dagger concept requires anticipation, and it's thrown right at the cut, leading his receiver into the space between the 3 defenders. This happened in the 2-minute drill.
So, nice segment, right? I mean, that stuff is all impressive.
That last one was a damn good throw there. I mean, he's really thread the needle on that last one.
Yeah. Nicely produced video, lots of, I love the graphics and the analysis. Yeah. Now he gets to
what was the name of it again?
It's called Thinking Football. Thinking Football on YouTube. He's got like I forgot what the number is, but tens of thousands of followers. So he's getting some good traction. So he must do good work. Now, here are the negatives.
Now to the troubles of the tape, because there's plenty when you lose 11 straight. First ties into the chaos of the coaching, with Caleb struggling with his reads and pretty consistently. It's hard to gauge how much is a direct result of poor teaching and how much is on Williams, but there's certainly a portion to be blamed on him. Not processing the defense fast enough, with his eyes proving to be very suspect when attacking downfield. Against the Cardinals, he gets baited by NFL speed, as the corner is able to hang flat with the hitch route initially, before breaking back to the corner and the smash concept. Caleb is hesitating, not sure which route to choose, and then throws late to the wrong choice, and he's lucky this is too hot and finds the sideline. Playing the Panthers, a slow read after the progression causes another dangerous ball that should have been picked off. He checks the solo side, but this is always going to be tough with the route and off coverage, so works back to the trips, where the coverage has taken away the dig, but allowed the tight end to be open in the flat. It's late to the dig route too, with 3 men converging for the ball, and he's lucky this falls safe. In division this time, and the motion will give him clarity of the man coverage with the corner following, but Caleb's completely missed the safety rotation to cover one robber. Strong coverage by the Vikings to lock everything up early, and as Caleb steps up and progresses in his reads, he thinks he's got a chance to the slant, never seeing Harrison Smith drop down to take away the middle. He throws it directly at him and is incredibly lucky that this wasn't 6 the other way. A feeling of timing and rhythm was majorly lacking in this offense, both in play calling and time to throw.
I think all of that is fair criticism, except for one thing. You know, the one thing about reading tape is you don't really know what the progression was. I mean, he could be told, 1, 2, 3, 4, and he's doing that, but we see that 3 is open, and he's saying, you should have thrown it to that guy. Well, that guy could have been third in the progression, and so by that time, the pass rush is on. It's hard to be accurate with the evaluation because there's information that we don't know, and maybe the pass receiver ran the wrong route. We've talked about that on plenty of shows here in the Barroom Network. Yeah. But I wanted to get your guys' take on the concerns with Caleb, because I think he did do a good job of pointing out the negatives there.
Just real quick before we start, I want to point out the very last sentence that you pulled out of those clips. This offense was severely lacking timing and momentum. Is that what it was? Something along those lines. Yeah. But that is exactly why I think everybody's so excited about Ben Johnson, is because those are two things that he very much brings into his offense. It's exactly why everybody disliked Justin Fields and why they were excited to get Caleb Williams in here, because he made those on schedule, on time throws, the anticipation throws that were pointed out in the first video you shared with us. So just to kind of take that off the top, like, I do think that the ability is there and it's shown there, and that the coaching is going to improve a lot of the deficiencies just because of the system that it'll be. In the same way that we were talking at the top of the show about how Dennis Allen's defense will probably assist, the players and the scheme and everything. I feel that Ben Johnson's offense, that Declan Doyle's offense, not that we've heard a whole lot from him, but that this offense will begin to help these guys as well. And it will get, Caleb Williams in rhythm. It will get DJ Moore to produce like that top 10 wide receiver we know he is, to get Rome Odunze to be a 1B rather than a 2, and to get Luther Burden, as maybe one of the most dangerous slot weapons in the NFL as a rookie. It's possible. It's very possible. It's all a matter of if it comes together.
Mm-hmm. What do you guys think, Tooch, Jeff?
Yeah, I liked his breakdowns. Now, he did hedge a little bit with the coaching staff being sort of a drawback, and JT O'Sullivan also talked about that, how players were in the wrong spot at times, and
now first round mock, he will never tell you that the coaching staff was the problem. So if you want some opposite sided opinions, I'm just saying, like, genuinely, if you want some quote unquote hater opinions, they're out there, and I think they're valuable to listen to as well.
That guy also had Spencer Rattler as like the top quarterback in the draft.
Hey, all I'm saying is Rattler started over Caleb Williams. So
yeah, there was one play where Caleb chose the play over the middle, and if he would have just understood a little bit, that'll come with experience because he was a rookie last year.
Yeah,
he would have had the tight end wide open in the flat.
Mm-hmm.
And with proper coaching and another year in the NFL, he's not going to miss those as much as he did his first year.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, I think that there's definitely some truth to that. I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head, Tooch, and you mentioned guys like JT O'Sullivan, like Chase Daniels. So if they do these breakdowns, Tim Jenkins, the quarterback play, and they'll talk about how, I don't know what the exact progression is, but they do watch their eyes. They watch where the quarterback's eyes are going. And that doesn't always tell the whole story, though. Still, like I said, because, again, you don't know exactly what they're being taught either. So it's hard to say exactly what he's supposed to be doing, where he's supposed to be all the time. But at the same time, there are certain things you can see where there are glaring mistakes that are being made. Obviously, the deep ball was a real issue for him last year. I don't know what the hell the problem was with that, because he never had that issue in college. One of his biggest one of the best things about him in college was his unbelievable accuracy, both on the deep ball and on in-stride throws, everything. And he had such a cannon for an arm. It all went together so well. The arm talent was just amazing. And he missed so many throws last year that he should have never missed, that there was obviously an issue there, whether it be footwork or whether it be, I don't know if it was like an anxiety thing or what, but he was just missing stuff he hasn't missed in the past. So there are definitely things to clean up for sure on his end. Absolutely.
Jeff, you hit it right there. That was one thing I was going to touch on is his poise.
Yeah.
If I were to list the things that I want to see him improve on, I might have poise as number one. Because there were times, and he famously said on Hard Knocks, "I don't get nervous. I don't get nervous." And when he said that, I was like, "Okay, is this guy full of shit?"
Yeah.
I think it's kind of a human norm to get nervous. Maybe there's some select people, but this guy, he may not get nervous, but he cries after a loss. He's not addressed the media after a college football game loss. So there are some things that do concern me about Caleb. Now, I'm a fan, and so I have hope and stuff, but he's got to improve on his poise. He's got to improve on his accuracy. And I remember when Justin Fields was still on the team and we were going through the big debate among Bears fans, Fields or Caleb, because that's basically what it was. We knew we were going to get the number one pick. Some people were hoping for a haul, trade that number one pick and get another haul like you did for the number one overall pick the year before. And I made the case that the Bears should keep Justin Fields because they would be getting in Caleb Williams, Justin Fields, meaning that Caleb doesn't throw well on time, at least not consistently well. And hopefully Ben Johnson is going to correct that. We know he's on top of it. And if Caleb doesn't get it under Ben Johnson, he probably won't get it at all. But those two guys are phenomenal athletes, Patrick Mahomes type athletes with the ball and maneuverability in the pocket. But what they're not good at, which Patrick Mahomes has learned to be good at under Andy Reid, is throwing on time. 3-step drop, 5-step drop, and letting that ball rip and throwing to receivers to open spaces. That's what he's got to improve. That's what that video, I think, did a good job
100%.
of. So
Patrick Mahomes just said that it took him 3 years to get to that point.
Yes,
he said I wasn't good for the first 3 years of my career.
And that was a thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about too. I think there's too much pressure being put on Caleb, to expect it, because Jaden Daniels did it on his first year. Well, let's see how well he does in his second year. And so to immediately expect that big jump because you've got quality, more offensive weapons and quality coaching, I think might be asking a little bit too much. I'm not saying he's going to have another season like he did in his rookie season. There's going to be some improvement. We know that. But if people think he's going to be Hall of Fame like, that's one that, you can't really bet on that and expect to win. I don't know.
I did a whole Bears State of Affairs on pressure.
Yes, you did.
It's like the enormous amount of pressure at Hallis Hall on everybody.
Yes, on everybody. But I agree. But I just think that the national media, in particular, maybe the local media, I haven't been listening to them too much over the last few months. But the national media is putting pressure on Caleb, man, big time.
Fanatics Fest he was at, and I know you talked about him. Didn't stay after a game at USC. Didn't talk to the press.
Right.
At Fanatics Fest, Peyton Manning was like, in Caleb's presence, talked about the importance of meeting with the media after a loss. Not like I don't know whether. I mean, I'm sure it probably wasn't intentional.
I thought the same thing, Tooch. I thought the same thing you did when I saw that. I was like, Caleb, right there. Is he kind of like telling Caleb, like, hey, man, as a mentor to you here at this stage, you probably should talk to the media and not skip out on that. I thought the same thing as you did, Tooch. I think that's very possible there. There is kind of a little bit to unpack with what you said, Aldo. I mean, I think, first of all, I think one of the 4 words I think I've said the most watching Bears games over the course of the last probably 5 years now is get rid of it, because both of our quarterbacks have failed to get rid of the damn ball at a consistent rate quickly enough. So that's been a big issue for them. So I do see what you're saying there, but I mean, I do think there's also I tend to agree. We got to have a little bit of patience with them because I've said this before many times. Offenses take a little bit of time to get going, more or less, more often than not. Even offenses that have been together for a long time. Look no further than last year's Rams team. That offense took half the season to get going. But once they finally did and things got clicking, they were good to go and they were rolling and they made the playoffs. So it's one of those situations where it doesn't always happen right away. We might have to give them a little bit of time to get it going. I do expect the defense played pretty well right away. But I do expect to see improvement too from everybody, especially Caleb too, because there were issues that he can very well correct and are correctable early and often. So getting rid of the ball faster is one of those. If I see him getting rid of the ball faster, more consistent rate, that's going to show immediate improvement right there. So that's kind of the one thing with that. But I don't know. There was another point I was going to make, and I already kind of forgot what it was because the whole get rid of the ball thing. But
no, that's
a major thing to keep an ay on. That, and again, the accuracy issue. I agree with that.
One thing Jared Goff is good at, getting that ball out on time.
Yes,
that's why he had a lot of success with Ben Johnson.
Zim, you're muted, and I know you're making a good point.
That's what I was about to say. Is like I've reiterated this point. I've been on this show throughout the entire offseason here, and the point that I've hammered every single time is Ben Johnson made Jared Goff a legitimate MVP candidate. All right. I can't say it much more explicitly than that, guys. We know who Jared Goff is. He was cast off by Sean McVay as basically unfixable. And Ben Johnson said, actually,
that is something we have to consider too. I mean, that's I don't think we always think about the either with a lot of these great quarterbacks we've seen over the years. We talk about situation all the time, but like how many great quarterbacks that you can think of that are in the Hall of Fame and won a bunch of Super Bowls didn't have great coaching, mostly offensive coaching. Bill Walsh coached Joe Montana for years. And obviously Steve Young as well. That's one example. Belichick's obviously defensive coach. He's a fantastic coach, one of the best of all time. Coach Brady for 6 Super Bowl wins. There's great coaches behind all these Hall of Fame quarterbacks. So we have to consider that too. It takes good coaching for these guys to get to that level.
Yep.
What was the name of the offensive coordinator of Belichick? Not
McDaniels?
Not McDaniels, but before him there was an older guy. What was his name? Like Charlie something or
well, they had that great O-line coach, Dante Scarnecchia, for years and years and years, and he was phenomenal.
He was the architect of the early Patriots offenses, and I just can't remember his name.
Before Romeo Crennel?
Romeo Crennel was the defensive coordinator, but
Charlie Weiss.
Charlie Weiss. That's right. Yes, he was there.
I had his first name. Yeah.
Not realize that because he was Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, yeah.
But yeah, Charlie Weiss was the mastermind behind the early.
He was a good coach too. I mean, and for a while he had Notre Dame rocking and rolling for a little bit, but then they really fell to the wayside.
They sure did. Yeah, sure did. I don't know what Charlie's doing nowadays other than probably having a couple of hamburgers. Hey, guys, I wanted to talk about the 52-man roster, but why don't we table that to next week? Yeah. I'd love to have a really in-depth discussion.
It'll take too long. That's like a couple hours. Right?
Exactly. We can do a whole show on that.
All right, let's do some few quick topics. I wanted to get your thoughts on Dan Campbell being ranked number 9 by Pro Football Focus, number 9 on returning head coaches.
Oh, I thought it was number 9 on top Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. So.
That's a good one. That's a good one. But
who were
the 8? Oh, so you're surprised that he's that low, Jeff?
Kinda.
Okay.
The way the league views him, I kind of expect him to be like top 5. Honestly,
do you have the top coach?
Yeah.
As a head coach,
can we guess who the top were?
Yeah, Scott. Guess who's number 1?
It's got to be Andy Reid.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Number 2.
Sean McVay.
Yeah, got to be. Or Shanahan.
Nope.
Hang on. The Eagles coach. What is his name?
Sirianni.
Nope. This is according to PFF. So think out of the box.
PFF.
Matt LaFleur.
No. Buffalo.
Oh, McDermott.
No, it's J2K is asking me about the weather lady. She's coming back soon. We're gonna. Number 2 is Sean Payton of the Broncos.
Oh, okay. Pedigree.
That's right. They gotta pump up their old guys.
Yeah,
yes, exactly.
John Harbaugh. That's a good guess.
Andy Reid was number 1, Carl. That's why we didn't mention him yet. He was number 1.
All right, number 3 is the other Sean McVay. Now, number 4, who do you think is at number 4?
John Harbaugh.
John Harbaugh. Ding, 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 ding.
John David Ekbal had it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And number 5 is in the same division. I think he's a little overrated myself.
Mike Tomlin.
Mike Tomlin.
In
his
that division.
best days are behind him.
Yes.
Yeah. And how's that going to work out with Aaron Rodgers?
Aaron Rodgers is going to get him fired.
I mean, I see what you guys are saying, but Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season in his entire career.
He's never had an Aaron Rodgers in his entire career.
Well, that's true, but still, I mean, even with terrible quarterback play, he has found a way to win 9 games every single year, or 8 games every single year back when he only played 16. So
the thing is, he can't trade his locker room headache for a second-round pick this year because it's his starting quarterback.
Is it the Steelers' turn to be on Hard Knocks? Because I'd love to see that.
You know, I gotta believe. Well, this is just a theory. Tomlin says, "Okay, we'll bring Rodgers in because this is my last year with this team, or I'm either retiring or leaving. So with Rodgers, I got a better shot than with a rookie quarterback."
Yeah.
I think this is Tomlin's last year. To me, when I saw that in-season Hard Knocks, I thought Tomlin was the worst of the 4 head coaches that they were showing every week. They showed the AFC Central coaches and behind-the-scenes stuff. But anyway, number 6 on PFF's list is Jim Harbaugh, 7 Kyle Shanahan, 8 Nick Sirianni, and 9 Dan Campbell.
6 was Jim Harbaugh.
Jim Harbaugh.
What a joke.
Pedigree again. Yeah, they're looking at past.
They made the playoffs last year.
They did.
So did half the league.
Kyle Shanahan 7, Nick Sirianni 8. I thought Sirianni should be a little higher. And then Dan Campbell, number 9. Now, so on social media, of course, the Lions fans are like, behaving like Don Burr.
Well, they're Lions fans.
Bullshit. How could he be? And then I should have pulled the clips from this.
Back, right, Burr?
No. He came in under a pseudonym, and I noticed him right away, and I kicked him out again.
Under a pseudonym.
But I'm willing to invite him back, but he has to turn himself into authorities. Number 1 and number 2. As soon as he drops the soap in the shower, he's got to announce that he hates the Detroit Lions. Shout out to Zim's Lighting. J2K says,
"Yeah, I got one blue and one orange above me tonight."
Yeah, what's going on in the background there?
Not much.
Let's take a close look.
We got the bass amplifier. I got my baritone guitar right here.
Nice.
We got the guitar amplifier over in that corner. There's a signed Drew Brees helmet in that corner. You can't really see it, but
pretty cool.
I got my main guitar here with all my photography equipment behind it, and then the as the kids call it, the cuck chair. But it's just a recliner for when my wife wants to hang out down here with me.
Very nice.
Piano over in the corner there too.
I love it, man. I love it. Hey, where's Jeff?
Here. I keep getting covered by that drink for some reason. I don't know what the hell's going on here.
That drink reminds me. You guys
should try a little gay water, Jeff.
In the dishes. I don't know what the hell's going on here.
Why do they call it gay? Because it's got peach in it?
Happy. It means
I'm not happy though.
Aldo, would you try some of it if I sent you a 12-pack?
No, I'm too afraid. Hey, I forgot what I was going to say, but I did want to ask something, or tell you guys something. And so Lions fans are upset, and then there was one guy who had the perfect answer. Oh, favored to go to the Super Bowl, but get knocked out of the playoffs last 2 years. And then the last one, who was the coach of the team that knocked them out of the playoffs? But the Lions.
Quinn.
Dan Quinn, yeah, he said something about being knocked out of playoffs by a has-been coach or something like that. Whatever it was brilliant. Oh. And so, Detroit Lions fans, I think, are going to be very disappointed this year. I predict this team could potentially get out to a 3-5 start just because of the schedule and the shock of losing Ben Johnson.
I mentioned this on a show before, but I'll bring it up again. The Lions have built this as a very emotional team, and I don't mean that as like any kind of a dig on them or anything, because emotion is a huge part of sports, right?
Absolutely.
That emotion carries your momentum. It carries you from week to week. Just look at the way these guys celebrate when they win championships, and look at the way they break down after defeats. It's very obvious. And again, this is a very emotional team, and it's led by their head coach crying at press conferences all the time, just to emphasize that emotion. But what comes with that is the hangover from defeats. You lose a few in a row, and it's very easy to spiral when you have an extremely emotional locker room like that. When you have guys that, they can really band together when times get tough, or they can completely crumple. And all it takes is one domino to fall for the whole stack to come down, and it's just a matter of how strong the brotherhood in that locker room really is, in my mind. And in the modern NFL, with the current CBA, with free agency, with trades being as rampant as they are, especially in the post-COVID NFL, this roster is maybe only 40, 50, 60% of what it was last year. You're turning over at least 15 players on your roster at minimum. You're looking at least 4 to 5 new starters on every team in the league. And that carries weight. And if these guys get off to a bad start and you're still bringing in that same emotional archetype with your players, it's real easy for a guy to go, what the hell? What did I come here for? I came here to win, and you're all letting me down. And what the hell is this? And I'm making this much money. I'm just going to go, take my shit and ow, my ankle hurts this week. Screw you guys. It's not, again, to try to pile on to anything. It's more just like, I can see that happening with that team a lot more so than I can see it happening in Green Bay or Chicago or Minnesota.
They're one of the teams that have the most games against playoff teams too, Zim.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and, 3 of them are in their own division.
Yeah.
But so I tend to kind of not put too much weight on stats like that, because I don't know if the Packers are going to be a playoff caliber team this year. I just, and I'm not saying this, I truly, from the bottom of my heart, I'm not saying this because I hate the Packers, but from what I see of Jordan Love, he just doesn't look. Thank you, brother.
Are you sure?
I just don't see him being a dominant quarterback. He gets away with so many lob passes, and he could easily have 10 more interceptions every season because he throws balls right into unsuspecting defensive players. Oh, you're giving me the ball. They drop it. Go ahead.
I was going to say, the thing with Jordan Love is just like that. The ability to be that dominant quarterback is there, and he has shown flashes of big-time ability at moments in the league where he's made big throws and stuff to win games and whatnot. But the problem is he's so wildly inconsistent. You don't get that from him week in and week out. Matter of fact, there are some weeks where it's downright terrible with him. So It's just a matter of where it's like, what kind of Jordan Love are you going to get? If you get great Jordan Love week in and week out, then the Packers are probably going to be a damn good football team. But if they're getting wildly inconsistent Jordan Love like they've been getting in the past few years, I'm not so sure they are a great football team.
Sounds like a guy who used to wear number 8 in Chicago.
Yeah,
indeed. I don't know. What do you guys think about the Vikings? I mean, I can't proclaim the Vikings are a playoff team with a rookie quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, who, yes, he ran a pro offense at Michigan, but He threw like 10 passes a game. I just don't. I think he's going to get off to a slow start. Maybe he'll get hotter first couple of games, but he's going to go through stretches that are going to be worse, I think, than Caleb. It's hard for me to believe that he's going to lead that team to a playoff spot despite the great roster they have elsewhere.
We'll find out week one.
Yes,
we'll
indeed.
play the Vikings, and Jordan Addison, I think, has a 3-game suspension to start the season, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
He does have a suspension, yeah, for sure. I don't know.
I'm not sure if we catch him without Jordan Addison, I think he lit us up last time. JJ has potential, though. He's a smart quarterback. Yeah. He didn't throw a lot in college. He's got a great coaching staff. He's got Justin Jefferson, Aaron Jones, up there, and T.J. Hawkinson.
I agree with all that.
He's got weapons. They have a great roster, great coaching staff. But he is a rookie. He's going to make rookie mistakes. He's 1 year behind Caleb and Jaden Daniels. So, but that quarterback class, man, they could go down as one of the best in a long time.
They could challenge the 86 class.
Yeah.
83 class.
83 is, I think, the year you're talking about. Yeah, Elway and Marino.
Yep.
Yeah.
Elway, Marino.
Tooch, I agree with you, dude. I mean, I think that the coaching staff's a big part of this. Kevin O'Connell, dude. I mean, you brought in a journeyman quarterback last year, and Sam Darnold, who has really done nothing since he was drafted 3rd overall. I mean, he made it to a Pro Bowl. He looked like a great player in that offense, and he got himself a new contract in Seattle now to be their guy. So, whether or not he's going to be any good there is a different story. But my whole point is if Kevin O'Connell can bring in a guy like Darnold, who hasn't done much of anything in the league to this point, and then they draft a guy who can do something, who has potential like that, I wouldn't put it past them to get the most out of McCarthy. So. Hopefully they don't. I mean, the hope is that they don't, but I wouldn't put it past them, not by any stretch. But I do tend to agree. I don't think it's going to happen right away. It's going to take a little time.
Sam Darnold. Go ahead, please.
Okay. First off, I have never liked the roster that Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah has put together in Minnesota. I've talked about this at great length that I have never liked him as a GM. I have never liked him as a GM candidate. I don't like the rosters he puts together. And yet he proves me wrong every single year. So what the hell do I know?
It's a pretty good roster, man. It looks good on paper.
And at the end of the day, it's like their secondary is getting old. I think there's potential to expose that. Their linebackers are pretty league average as far as that goes. Their defensive line, very good. Yes. But you flip over to the other side of the ball, they have a complete unknown at quarterback. Running back is possibly good, possibly not. They have the best wide receiver maybe in the entire game of football on one side, and then a whole bunch of guys who have the ability to get hot on the other side. Like their whole roster is just so odd to me. I don't like the way it's constructed. It feels like a gambler's wet dream to me. And I think they hit last year. What are the odds of them hitting 2 years in a row? Like, to me, that's just how it feels. That's just how it feels to me. It's just a whole thing. And as far as, them getting Sam Darnold a new job, the whole Darnold to Seattle thing gives me shades of
Mike McCarthy. Oh, not Mike McCarthy. What's the name of that Green Bay Packer quarterback?
Matt Flynn.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
It gives me Matt Flynn vibes, especially because they drafted Jalen Milroe in the 3rd round, the same round that Russell Wilson was drafted.
Good points, Zim.
Something about that Seattle team. They also drafted Gray Zabel for their offensive line, who I think is going to be a great player in the league for a long time. I'm watching Seattle this year. I've always kind of been low key, a little bit of a Seattle fan. So I'm going to be paying attention. I think Jalen Milroe gets a few starts this year out there. I don't think that Darnold can catch lightning twice, man.
Yeah. When you look at Darnold's stats from last season, he really took advantage of some poor teams. Like he threw 5 touchdown passes against the Falcons, and it was at home.
Was that early in the year?
That one was week 13. Early in the year, he had a 4-touchdown game against the Houston Texans, who got off to a horribly slow start last year. Then he threw 3 touchdowns against the Packers. He owned the Packers last year, had 2 games against the Packers where he threw 3 touchdowns in each of those games. And I think that is a testament to how bad the Packers' defensive backfield is, and that they've had problems in the linebacker and pass rush. So he just Darnold, to me, was the beneficiary of great coaching, like you guys have said. And Zim, if you are implying that he's going to go to Seattle and he's going to bust just like Matt Flynn did, I am with you 100% on that.
We don't know that Matt Flynn was a bust, all right? Because he never saw the field for Seattle.
He never saw the field for the rest of his life. I think that's a testament to him being a bust.
Well, hey, shout out to the Seahawks for being smarter than the Bears and not letting Rick Meyer get the ball first.
Daggers. All right, guys. Let's finish up with a little pop culture talk. I see Tooch. He's either looking at his bank account because he's won some bets, or
I was looking at. I couldn't remember who beat the Vikings I thought it was the Rams. I was right. In the playoffs last year, when Darnold kind of laid an egg.
Oof, that was awful.
In that
awful
one.
game.
Sam Darnold laid an egg in the playoffs? No way.
Something about seeing ghosts. I don't know.
Kevin O'Connell shit down his leg in the playoffs? What?
Yeah.
I will say the Vikings have their trench play in general is damn good, both offensive and defensive line. Bear Their Soulz is going to be back this year, right? I mean, he's one of the better left tackles in the entire league. They're
drafted
good.
somebody
They're good
too.
up front, man. They're going to be a problem if they're healthy there.
I forgot who they drafted for the offensive line, so they got some help there besides Their Soulz coming back.
I can't remember. Kid from
Donovan Jackson.
Yes, Donovan Jackson.
Yeah,
then last year they drafted that Mahogany kid, if I'm not mistaken, the Boston College kid.
Yeah,
they only had 5 picks.
They only had 5 picks, but their general manager, I like that guy a lot. It's difficult for me to pronounce his name because I'm retarded.
Mensa?
Yeah, that's him. And I'm far from a Mensa student. So
you've always been a fan of him, Aldo. He was in contention for the Bears job back when they hired Ryan Pace, and I know that you really liked him for that position as well.
I did. He just got a contract extension, and they announced it proud and let everybody know
you can
the
do
details
that?
of the contract. Yeah, can you?
I didn't know that.
Oh my God!
See, I root for the Chicago Bears, an organization that has never once done that.
Thank you. By the way, Kay, for correcting me. I knew it was a divisional team. I don't know why I was thinking Minnesota, but Mahogany's with the Lions. That was my mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys, you want to finish up talking a little pop culture? Zim, Jeff, Tooch, anything regarding music or something that you've seen at the movie theaters or on TV that you want to talk about? Zim, I know that you said you were going to try to watch The Pit or a couple of those, or what was it?
The Irishman. I watched The Irishman this morning.
Wow.
It's been on my list for a little while, but it's a 3.5-hour movie. It's a big commitment. So
yes, indeed.
I took the time to watch it.
That's Scorsese's film, if I can remember correctly.
Yes. And a lot of people consider it his masterpiece, I guess. So I was very interested to watch it. Of course, Robert De Niro is in it because it wouldn't be a Martin Scorsese film without Robert De Niro in it.
Pesci too, right?
Pesci was in it.
Yeah.
Joe Pesci and oh my goodness, who's the other guy I'm thinking of? Al Pacino.
Al Pacino.
He was also in it. Yeah. So all three of those guys.
Is Paul Sorvino in it?
I don't recall.
I think he's dead.
Is he really?
I think so.
Yeah, he died.
Okay.
Yeah.
At any rate, I took the time to watch it. Not really knowing what it was about going into it, just knowing it was a mob movie because, again, Scorsese film. I gotta say, I really liked the direction of The Wolf of Wall Street better than this film in particular. But I mean, it had a very different feel at the same time while still being autobiographical in that same sense. For anybody who doesn't know this film or is not familiar with it, it's the story of Sheeran, somebody Sheeran, I can't remember his first name. But he was a mob hitman and supposedly is the guy who killed Jimmy Hoffa. So, I mean, it was really interesting to me learning more about Jimmy Hoffa, you know, growing up as I didn't grow up as a Chicagoan, but growing up with a lot of Chicago influence, seeing Teamsters stuff plastered all over my grandparents' house and all that, and not knowing what it was, and now getting some context for a lot of it. Really interesting, really good film. And I appreciated that Scorsese did his thing with it, where he told the story he wanted to tell. He didn't give a shit how long it took. He wanted to develop these characters. He wanted to develop these relationships and allowed these actors to really fill out the roles rather than just kind of forcing these imaginary connections that, you know, a lot of directors do nowadays, where they say, well, they'll figure it out. Like, there's inferencing that they can fill in between the lines. There's no lines that need to be filled in between. It's very well put together overall. And like I say, while I enjoyed the Wolf of Wall Street's directional style better, this was still done very, very well. It made me forget that Ray Romano, you know, is Ray Romano.
Right.
Which is a hard thing to do. He played himself on TV for how many years? And
well, and they did the CGI stuff to make the old guys look younger, right?
I will say I did notice it at times. There were a few scenes and this is you know, at this point in time considered a little bit of an older film. It's from 2019. So technology has definitely developed quite a bit since then, especially as far as the face mapping and the aging of people. Right. But overall, they did a very good job. To the first time I saw it, I was like, oh, wow, they chose to just use the same guys and it looks good. And then again, it's more like the close-ups on the face and things like that, where you notice some things mostly around the mouth, but not distracting.
One other thing, Zim, I don't know if you noticed, but there's a shot of Robert De Niro's character walking across the street, and he's supposed to look like he's in his 50s or something. But unfortunately, he did look like it, but unfortunately, he was walking like a 75-year-old man, which is what Robert De Niro is.
Right.
So he's strutting along like an old man, but he looks totally younger. It's
there were definitely a few moments where you could see his physical age, you know, peeking through the CGI.
Exactly.
Again, overall, though, great film, a story really worth telling. And told really well in a way that didn't feel overly fictionalized too. And that's the key with stories like this, is being able to tell these stories that are larger than life from people who are larger than life in a way that it feels like, man, my grandfather could have gotten pulled into that. You know, my uncle could have been that guy, you know, like this is just, you know, it just felt casual. It was a good story. It really was. I enjoyed it greatly.
Tooch, you saw it, right?
Yep. Yeah, I saw it a while back when it first came out.
Yeah, that's when I saw it too. I'll have to watch it again. You know, I remember my impression was that it wasn't his greatest work, his being Marty Scorsese's, but I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed Flower Moons. I forgot the complete title. I enjoyed
Killers
that.
of the Flower Moon.
Killers of the Flower Moon. I know Tooch hated it or couldn't.
Well, I still haven't finished. I'm gonna have to go back to it because I keep falling asleep. It's so boring.
It's not boring, but it is. You know, he as he gets older, Scorsese, he's taking a longer time to tell his stories. I mean,
it really is.
It's like, dude, you fucking speed this shit up, man. I don't have so much time.
I think that was my problem with it, Aldo.
Yeah, it's weird. The guy is getting closer and closer to deathbed, but he has more and more to say. I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
What about you, Jeff? Seen anything you like or heard?
I did. When we had Jeff Agrest on a couple weeks ago, he mentioned that Celtic City on HBO.
Oh, yeah, have you started that?
Me being a Celtics fan, I went back and watched it, and it is pretty damn good. They spent the first few. They definitely spent more time talking about the older generations of the teams, like the Bill Russell eras and whatnot, the 70s teams too, more so than like the newer age. But they did. They definitely covered every championship, and there was a lot of really neat stuff in there that you might not have known if you weren't a big Celtics fan already, and just some of the stuff that they went through with different things. And, if you guys are basketball fans, you're aware of like the Len Bias death. And then they had the other guy, what the hell is it? Reggie White, who passed away too. They had a couple guys who were supposed to be like the next guy to be like the next Larry Bird or whatever and take the team over. And they end up passing away as young kids, so it's just terrible tragedies. They're really, really, really good documentary though. So if you guys haven't seen it, even if you're just not, I'm not even a big basketball fan, but just being a Celtics fan, I thought it was excellent. And I think you would like it even if you weren't, a fan of the team.
I'm definitely going to check that out.
Yeah, what was the name of it again?
Celtic City is what it's called.
Celtic City. Nice.
Yeah.
And by the way, The Last Dance was on ESPN the last 2 nights.
I just started watching it again.
It is so fucking
It holds
good.
up.
So that thing is going to hold up forever.
Yes.
And I hope and pray I would make it mandatory if I was like a gym teacher. Everybody in this class is going to watch this for the next 10 classes. Yeah, our coach, exactly. And especially, the people who really weren't exposed to Jordan like I was. I mean, that motherfucker was in my home like 300 days out of the year because I recorded every game. I would watch it 2 or 3 times. This is during that 90s run. And prior to that, I fucking cried when the Pistons beat the shit out of us.
Yeah.
I went to see Michael Jordan play live at the Chicago Stadium like in his first month of play and was just so fucking excited. I went to the draft party the day they drafted him, and so Michael Jordan to me was like a family member, and reliving the Last Dance, sensational. Great job by the filmmakers on that. Great job.
How old were you guys during the Bulls championship run?
Young. I only remember like the three-peat, the second three-peat more so. Like I was a baby because I was I would think I was in the first championship in 91. I was like 2, maybe 3.
Okay.
At the time. So I would have, I really don't remember it until like the second set of three-peats, but everybody was fans at that time. I mean, my cousin had a Rodman jersey. I think I had a Scottie Pippen jersey. We were all fans of the Bulls at the time. We were kids,
That's funny. I was just talking about this the other day with some coworkers because they were asking about basketball in Denver because I just moved from Denver and the Nuggets have been amazing. And I was like, yeah, it's kind of weird. Like I grew up like in the Chicago area, and some of my first sports memories are the Bulls winning a championship. And then we moved to Denver and the Broncos won 2 championships in a row. And I just thought the local team won a trophy at the end of every season. That's what my childhood was. So it's very odd, like growing up in that and now rooting for the teams that I do.
It is wild.
To give you an idea of like the era I grew up, like Space Jam was like perfect for me when I was a kid. It came out right at that age for me.
Yeah.
Where it would have been relevant as a kid. So I was really into that movie. Everybody was in it when we first got the soundtrack. I think my cousin had the soundtrack. I mean, it was. Big
we all did. Yeah, we were bumping that soundtrack. If we weren't, Radio Disney was doing it for us.
Right? Exactly. For sure.
By the way, D. Starren says he went to the games to see the Lovables, and who can blame him? Who can blame him?
Yeah.
By the way, one of the upcoming shows here on Bear Their Soulz, we're going to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the 85 Bears. So that is going to be good. All of you guys start to do your homework on it. I actually started reading some stuff. And did you know this? Tooch, you watched that season. Did you know that the Bears recorded the Super Bowl shuffle the day after they got their asses kicked in Miami?
Yeah,
to
it was the
lose
beginning.
The only game of the season.
Yeah.
You talk about balls.
I thought, wait, didn't they record it before the season?
No. They recorded it the day after they lost to the Miami Dolphins on Monday Night Football to stop their winning streak at 11. And this, according to a book that I'm reading, I got the perfect pro football shitter book. You know, it takes me 10 minutes to take a shit, and I can read a chapter or two in those 10 minutes.
Hey, you're a power shitter, Aldo. You're a power shitter, my boy.
Probiotics.
I'd always been under the impression that they recorded it before the '85 season, and I was like, "Damn, the balls on these guys!" You know, like we're going to this,
But think how much bigger the balls were when they recording it the day after they got their asses kicked.
Yeah.
That is balls.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll be talking about the 85 Bears soon. Tooch,
awesome.
What have you seen or that you want to warn us
a couple
about?
Things. You know, we were talking basketball, so of course I was watching the NBA finals, and terrible way for it to end with the Halliburton injury. Really good player, played at Iowa State, and a lot of mock drafts had him going to the Bulls. Instead, we took Patrick Williams.
That's right.
But I mean, if we had taken Tyrese Halliburton, how much better we would be off. How much better off we would be. But yeah, tough break for the kid to miss entire next season. Pretty good series all around. It's just a shame. I thought the Game 7, the Pacers had a chance. You know, they were leading when Halliburton went down. Just a tough break for the kid. And then, of course, Aldo, you know, I mean, it's the 50th anniversary, so I had to rewatch it. I think it's one of the greatest movies of all time. I'm talking about Jaws.
Ooh, yes.
I didn't see that.
I mean, if you haven't seen it,
I'm jealous. Jeff gets to watch it for the first time.
It's a great movie. I mean, it has everything.
Yeah,
you know,
really.
adventure, story.
Yeah, I mean, I've always heard it was good. Growing up, my stepdad would always talk about his. I don't know why these were his two favorite movies. Well, the first one I know why. His two favorite movies when he would talk about growing up were Full Metal Jacket. He was a Marine, so that one makes a ton of sense. The first half hour of that movie is just like, it is something else if you've never seen it before.
It's great. Yep.
It will have you rolling. But in any case, that was number one, and Jaws was number two for him. And I had never seen Jaws, still haven't seen it. And I really do need to, because I've always heard it's so good.
It's one of the greatest movies of all time, I think, Aldo. Would you agree? It's up there.
Oh, Jaws? Absolutely.
Yeah, it's up there for sure.
Here's the biggest story about Jaws. Despite it being technically great, great suspense, great actors. Rorschach is one of my favorite actors. Yep. But it was the first summer blockbuster because it came out, if I remember correctly,
1975,
a couple of years before Star Wars, which was a stupendous hit. But Jaws, I fucking remember it was released and seeing news reports of how popular it was. And about 2 weeks after it was released, I still had to get into a long fucking line to see Esquire Theater to get in. I'm thinking, shit, this must be good. And it's one of those rare movies that lived up to my expectations, hearing all this great stuff about it. Yeah, it's definitely a classic. And Jeff, make sure you watch it.
You got to watch it. I mean, just celebrated its 50th anniversary. I think it's on Max or Peacock. One of those.
Let me see if I can find it.
And I can usually, I have both of those, so if it's on one of those, I can for sure watch it.
I think it's Peacock.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I definitely need to watch it.
The behind the scenes story is fantastic too. The mechanical shark, they couldn't get it to work correctly. So Spielberg just went with kind of vague shots of it, and that ramped up the suspense, for the audience, and it kind of added to the lore of the movie and stuff. And then, of course, at the end, you finally do see this massive. It's more of a whale than a shark, Aldo, in size. But I mean, it's got everything. I mean, the hero's journey, the sort of Moby Dick element.
Took a lot of stage cues,
a lot of drama
from Alfred Hitchcock. Very easy to see the influence on that film when you look at it.
Cast.
And one of the top 3 John Williams soundtracks of all time.
Yeah, fantastic soundtrack. You have Roy Scheider.
Yep.
Robert Shaw, who plays Quint, and then Richard Dreyfuss, of course, great job of acting as the young oceanographer Hooper.
And that's when Dreyfuss started to work Spielberg, because he knew Spielberg was working on Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and started to work on Spielberg. I want to be in that movie. I want to be in that movie.
Yeah. It was the year after. It was his next movie, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yes.
Both those movies scared the piss out of me when I was a little kid.
One of the best lines in movies, you're going to need a bigger boat.
You're going to need a bigger boat.
Have you ever seen, speaking of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, have you ever seen The Fourth Kind? That movie's pretty wild, too.
Fourth
man, you guys need to watch it. It's called The Fourth Kind. It's like basically, so the third kind is like an encounter with an alien, right?
Right.
Well, an encounter of the fourth kind is like, I think it's like basically physical contact with that alien, more or less. I'm not sure exactly what I wish I could remember for the life of me exactly what it was, but it's a really good movie, and it's like a real life story. And there's interviews with the lady who is, because it's based on her story, but there's interviews with her in this movie, and they go back and forth between the film and her, and she just looks fucked up these days from what she went through in her past. It's wild. You guys got to watch it. The Fourth Kind. And it's kind of scary too, a little bit, if you're into like scarier movies like that. So,
now, I've seen Close Encounters of the Butt Kind and Close Encounters of
it ain't like that.
Oh, well.
I was in that one, Aldo.
That was the shark.
Yeah.
It's a wrong movie. Donald has some Jaws trivia. He says they cut out the scene between the wife and Hooper, who was supposed to have an affair. They did that in the Peter Benchley book.
Yeah. I've got a copy of it somewhere. The book, my mom had it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I don't know if it's still there.
Go in the water after that movie.
I hate when movies like go. I'm sorry, whoever I just cut off. Go ahead.
I was just going to point out back when I managed to get out to Universal Studios in California, the Jaws set has been recreated there. So if you go on the studio tour, you get to go by and you can see the whole thing. They've got that and the Bates Motel and one of the Indiana Jones sets and a few other things. Gilmore Girls, I think, was out there. All kinds of stuff. But it was just really, really cool to get to see like the actual mechanics that they used for the film, like in real life. You're like, that's actually kind of scary. Like even, from 50 feet away, like they did a good job.
And it holds up pretty well. I mean, you can come in at any point really and start watching it. That's kind of a mark of a great movie for me, when you can, watch it a bunch of times and not get sick of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who was it? J2K is asking, have you seen Troll? It's a European, Scandinavian movie, I believe. Tooch, have you seen it?
Is that with like the people are hunting that giant?
Yeah.
I saw it. I saw it when it first came out. I haven't seen it. I know Netflix had it when it first came on Netflix.
It was Aaron Mikulski that turned me on to it.
Yeah.
He turned us all onto it. And,
it was decent.
It's really great. There is a fucking fantastic scene. It's a slight spoiler alert, but it's so fucking good. I got to describe it to you. The characters are talking in the foreground, and these trolls can take on the appearance of the landscape. And so I won't give much more away. I'll just say that something in the background happens that holy shit, and I've seen a million movies. I very rarely get up out of my seat and say, what the fuck? And I rewound it, watch it again, the movie is worth watching just for that. So
but I know exactly what you mean. They did it in Detective Pikachu as well.
That one I haven't seen. Detective Pikachu. Jeff, you watch the Pokemon movies or any of that shit?
Not anything new, no. Not since I was a kid, man. I don't have kids, so I don't have to watch that kind of stuff most of the time, unless I'm with my nephews.
That's funny. D-Star says, does the shark still jump at the tram?
I think it did when I was there. I don't know. This was like 10-ish years ago at this point. So
I went to the one in Florida. They had the Jaws set.
Yeah.
They had a really cool Twister set too. That was awesome.
Yeah, I do recall that one.
Yeah. That was
they've got very similar setups at both of them, and Florida's obviously a little larger, so they throw in a few more things. Ours, they were working on one of the Fast and Furious films at that point in time. It was Fast and Furious 7 or 8 or something like that, and they were that was very forward on our studio tour to try to promote that.
Cool.
I did see one other movie, Aldo. I want to say it was on Prime, but I know Jeff had mentioned Full Metal Jacket, and it had Arliss Howard in this movie. A really good cast. Arliss Howard played Private Cowboy in Full Metal Jacket, and it's called The Thicket. It has Peter Dinklage, who played Tyrion in Game of Thrones, and he's like he's like a bounty hunter in the. Well, I mean, this has got to be around 1890s because there are motorcycles and motor cars, very rudimentary. And then he is chasing a really ruthless killer named Cutthroat Bill, played by Juliette Lewis. Really? Great turn. She plays this really evil, like, villain robber. And then Ethan Hawke's son Levon is like the star. He's like his sister's kidnapped by Juliette Lewis, and he kind of hires Peter Dinklage and his sidekick.
What a cast!
Yeah, the sidekick is played by a guy from The Wire. He was in The Wire. Forget which character he played. Earl Little, I think. No, what was his actor's name? He played.
Say again.
The actor's name is Gabenga, and he played Chris Parlow on The Wire, HBO show The Wire.
Okay, I know him. Yeah,
he's Dinklage's sidekick. And then you got Arliss Howard. James Hetfield from Metallica is in it as one of the Cutthroat Bill's henchmen. The comic Andrew Schultz is in the movie as well. So it has a really interesting cast and pretty good story, a pretty good ending. But Peter Dinklage is like, kind of like a legendary marksman, Old West marksman.
Oh.
But,
this is the little guy?
Yeah.
He's a dwarf. Yeah.
I was just going to say, speaking of him, is it going to be a totally different subject, totally unrelated movie, going to be a way different part. Have you guys ever seen Death at a Funeral? That shit is so
Christopher
funny,
Walken?
dude. No, it's okay. So it's Peter Dinklage is in it, but he plays not a huge role. Okay. It kind of is, but I don't want to give you guys any spoilers, but he's in it, and it's like it's a family that lost their dad, and it's got like Martin Lawrence and I think Chris Tucker, if I'm not mistaken, is in it.
Okay.
And, no, not Chris Tucker. Martin Lawrence. Oh, who's all in it? Kevin Hart, I think, is in it.
Okay.
Gosh, I wish I could think of all the actors, but it's a bunch of A-list actors, and they're all like brothers, and they all lose their dad. And this movie, I'm telling you, the first time I ever saw it, first of all, I smoked way too much before I watched it the first time. It was absolutely hilarious. I was dying the first time I watched this movie. You guys have to watch if you haven't seen it before.
What's the title again?
Death at a Funeral.
Death at a Funeral.
Hilarious movie.
I don't think I've ever seen it. I might have a while back.
Donald, that's pretty funny. He's saying Peter Dinklage has a small role in the movie. That was an unintentional.
He's actually the star of this one, though.
I don't even want to say it's a small role. I don't want to give anything away. But
if you can suspend your disbelief of Tyrion being a gunslinger, it's pretty good. I mean,
I got
very violent though.
I watched the Nicolas Cage movie, The Surfer. We had talked about it on this show when the preview first came out.
Yeah.
But now
it's out now.
It's out now. I think it's on Netflix. And let me
I haven't
see if
seen it. Oh, I gotta see it. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's Nicolas Cage.
Right, it's crazy in it. Yeah.
Yes.
I want to see it.
So the premise is that his wife is leaving him, and he's got a son that he's estranged from. It takes place in Australia, and so he wants to buy a home on the beach where he grew up. But there's this surfer gang that has taken over that surfing area where he grew up, and they don't want any outsiders. It's actually based on a magazine article. Somewhere in Southern California, there's some beaches where gangs hang out, and you can't get anywhere fucking near there, or they will kick your ass, they will shoot you, they will kill you. And so this film, they changed the location from Southern California to Australia. And so Nicolas Cage is going through this fucking hallucination, it feels like, but it's a true story about how he's getting fucked over by this gang. They won't let him enjoy hanging out on the beach at all or surfing. They steal his surfboard and stuff. That guy in the red there is the leader of the gang. It's fucking intense. It felt like somewhat of a Twilight Zone, M. Night Shyamalan feel to it. It's a paranoid tale of craziness that critics said. It's really good. I recommend you check it out. Only in California, Cliff Victoria says.
Did you see Pig? Nicolas Cage of Pig?
Yes, excellent movie.
That was a great movie too.
Excellent movie.
Speaking of Nicolas Cage, there's this movie that I keep getting like recommendations to watch called The Old Way that I haven't seen. Have you guys seen it? Is it any good?
The Old Way.
I think it's called The Old
Western,
Way.
right? It's a Western.
Yes, it's a Western. Yeah. Yes.
No,
I see it. It was all right.
No.
Yeah, it was all right.
Okay.
I think the last Nick Cage movie I saw was Ghost Rider.
Oh, really? That's a long time ago.
No, I think I saw, what was it? An Incredible Waste of Talent or whatever it's called.
That's the story of his career, right?
Yeah. With him and Pedro Pascal.
Oh, okay.
I think that's actually the most recent one I've seen. It's just, I can't look at Nick Cage without thinking about Ghost Rider anymore. And how
he went through that period where he was doing anything for money.
Yeah,
I don't even think he read the scripts.
Him and Bruce Willis.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
There's a list of actors, but I gotta say, the last few movies he's made, it seems like he's really interested in the quality of the film and the filmmakers and stuff before committing to it. So maybe he's back because
Liam Neeson is kind of like that now. Make like 10 movies a year.
Oh,
or whatever,
Exactly.
It's like doesn't matter what it is.
Big time gambling debts gotta pay him, man. Yeah, Donald, something happened with Nick. He got ripped off or something. He lost a bunch of money. Yeah. Anyways, he's
vaguely familiar. Yeah.
I find him to be a fascinating character because the guy does have, out there movie talent. Where's that little clip that I have? Oh, this one.
I couldn't think of a more horrible job if I wanted to.
Now, who the fuck would do that? I wouldn't.
We used to have that gif of him like, from Face Off.
Exactly. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Jeff. You were going to say something?
I wasn't going to say anything or necessarily. I mean, I do like some Nick Cage movies, though. Do you guys like Gone in 60 Seconds? I've always liked that movie.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yep.
You guys haven't seen Pig, just Aldo and I, right?
Yeah,
I haven't. Yeah, I have not seen it.
Definitely worth watching.
Yeah, it's
for
good.
Sure. Yeah. All right, guys, let's pull the plug on this episode. 2 hours and 26 minutes. I think people got what they paid for, which is absolutely nothing.
That's why I'm here.
Speak for yourselves.
But you're all, I'm so glad that we had this crowd in the chat room to help us with the show and help with your questions and thoughts and comments. Zach's question about Caleb watching film, it really spurred on, I think, a good discussion. I'm worried about the guy, but I'm also very, very hopeful that he's gonna be a top tier quarterback. So, but he's got to prove it. He's got to prove it. Guys, final thoughts? Anything you want to say before we get out of here? Start with you, Zim.
I don't have much tonight, guys. It's been been a pretty chill. Yeah. Thanks to the family. Thanks to the friends and everybody else. We're making plans for the rest of summer. This is my downtime of summer as well for the next 2 weeks. So,
cool.
That's why I say it's a little hard to think on my toes right now because I'm kind of just going down the lazy river, and it's kind of nice to feel that way for a minute. But
did you guys read the crawl that I had at the top of the show? Zim Zimmerman is on tonight. What exactly he's on, we won't know until toxicology reports come in. Johnny Santucci has a sale on his adult films.
Yeah,
Jeff
I can't
Willis.
give them away, really.
Don't test my piss.
Jeff Willis joins us tonight. Wait, it's his twin brother Tim, or is it his twin brother Tim? Anyway,
I hope not.
I'll come up with funnier stuff next week.
That was good, though.
Jeff, any final words you want to yell at anybody?
Not really. Just Tim and I are off the next couple weeks, guys. If you're wanting to watch the Willis twins next Friday, obviously this next Friday is 4th of July coming up, but this coming week Tim's going to be out of town, so we're gonna be off for the next couple weeks. But I do appreciate you guys having me on, and that was a lot of fun here. I mean, I always love talking Bears with you guys and pop culture and stuff. I did wear my stick shirt. I don't know if you noticed that, Tooch. Have I ever told you guys a story about why I'm such a big stick fan?
No, go ahead.
So I got it's kind of it's not a big story, but my best friend growing up back home, his dad grew up in Chicago, went to Chicago schools, and actually went to school with the guys from Sticks like Dennis DeYoung, and I'm pretty sure he went to school with the Pinozo brothers as well. But if I'm not mistaken, he actually played with them a little bit some, but he was always a big fan of their music, and he was a drummer. He had a drum set at their house like my whole life when I was growing up as a kid. And they, I would hear him playing. He would have these speakers that he would just jam the loudest Sticks music to, and he'd be playing his drums behind it all the time. And so like the neighbors had to know he was a big Sticks fan too. Obviously we did because we were always listening to him do it. But, watching him play was always a lot of fun too. And that's kind of how I got into drumming in the first place, was just getting behind my best friend's dad's drum set and just kind of dicking around on it all the time, whether it be to music, CDs that he had at the house or just, jamming on my own kind of thing. But it was a lot of fun playing that way. I was always a big fan of listening to him. And I ended up listening to a lot of Sticks through that and becoming a big fan of theirs. Tommy Shaw, to me, is one of the most underrated guitar players of all time. He's absolutely excellent. Listening to some of his guitar parts is just like, how does this guy not get more credit? It's unbelievable to me, but they're a lot of fun to listen to. I love Sticks, mostly, like I said, because of him. And again, that's kind of how I got into drumming too in the first place. But good little story from my background with my friend.
Hey man, I appreciate Sticks giving us one of the best South Park gags of all time to me. So,
which is that one?
Oh, and there's a whole episode where Cartman can't hear the first lyric to "Come Sail Away" without singing the entire song. So every time they need to just like have a conversation and get Cartman to shut up, they go, "I'm sailing," and then just like, "God damn it, I'm sailing."
That's hilarious.
That's good.
It's so
song too.
I tell you, when that album came out, that Paradise album, fuck, man, did we
Paradise
waste that fucking Paradise Theater? The fucking grooves on the LP were just worn out that summer. It was unbelievable playing that shit over and over.
The Grand Illusion.
Yeah, to the point where we started to throw up once we started hearing it for the 55th million time. It's one of those albums that really got into your blood system and wouldn't go away.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Tooch, final thoughts.
Well, thank the chat room for showing up. Aldo and I were off last week. It was my wife's birthday, and I told her, like, Aldo and I have a podcast, and then she removed both of my testicles. Aldo let me have the night off, so I could go out to my wife.
She sent them to me. They're right here.
Why is that bag so small? Dude, what the hell's going on in here?
The older you get, the smaller they get.
Shriveling up as the days go.
That's right. 2 little walnuts.
Yeah. So thanks for rejoining us. And, there's not much to talk about with the Bears. I know it's hard to find
brilliant Bear state of affairs. You brought out good stuff there, man.
Cautionary tale.
Yes, indeed.
We can't on paper everything looks great, great. Until they start hitting each other. So,
Tooch, I wanted to ask you, as a professional handicapper, gambler, what do you think of the news that the NCAA tournament might expand now to like 72 teams, giving you basically another weekend of betting? Is that
that'd
good
be great?
news?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
That first round.
First round is where I make the most money.
Yeah, I was gonna say
the first round of playoffs. Yeah. Right now it's just I had some luck with the prop betting with the Pacers and Thunder and other rest of the NBA playoffs did fairly well, but it got kind of hard at the end and stuff because they know that the games would be like sort of one-sided, and then they took turns being one-sided. Can we get the game where both teams perform well?
No shit.
Yeah, but
it's the NBA, absolutely.
Yeah. Now it's mostly baseball tonight. I had some strikeout props that have both hit tonight. So
excellent.
I had the Brewers young kid played 6 strikeouts, 7 strikeouts, and 8 strikeouts. He had 8.
His name Mizorowski?
So, Mizorowski, yep.
Yeah.
And then I had
Boy, you want to talk about a gambling come up. Mizorowski's rookie cards were selling for about $40 to $100 before his debut. They're selling upwards of $1,000 now.
Wow.
I mean, the kid is lighting the sports card world on fire.
Yep.
It's pretty crazy.
And Anthony was like, hey, this Brewers pitcher's this is his debut. You got to get on the strikeout props. And since then, his starts, I've been betting his strikeouts. So,
wow.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of it tonight, man. It was like 102 mile per hour fastball. I was like, damn it. Yeah, 100 kids throwing 102 miles an hour. So, but yeah, there's nothing from it's just baseball really for from now until.
That's what I was going to shout out, and I forgot until just now when I brought up that comment about thank you, Tooch, for reminding me with the pitcher. But hey, I was going to shout out. There's a lot of big sports card releases coming up. I've finally hit my first big Caleb Williams card in a Bears uniform. I had a pretty big one from him in USC, but I don't really count that one. But hey, if anybody wants to join me ripping some packs, I would absolutely advise you to send me a DM or something. I'll send you a link to the break room that I'm a part of. I don't want to push this on anybody who's not interested, so I'm not gonna just blatantly advertise it out there. But again, if you're interested, at Raging Bear Fan is how you can find me on Twitter. I'll send you a link to the Facebook room, and hey, it's another form of gambling, but you get something physical out of it as well. So I just throw it out there because the sports card world is really booming right now and really becoming more of a hobby again, in addition to being a high dollar retirement fund for some people, basically. But
Anthony and Sean are really into it. But Sean's always opening packs on his show.
It's
a lot of fun.
Why is the value of the cards going up? It's not like there's greater athletes or anything.
The rookie cards and like there's number 1
so
whatever
the product is getting more refined again. We are not as what's the word I'm looking for? It's not as great as it was maybe like 3 or 4 years ago right now, just because it's becoming very saturated. But the excitement is there's new products dropping all the time. Those products have varying levels of rarity to it all. And depending on the price point for entry, some of these products are really affordable for everybody to just, go to Walmart and buy, your little box or pack of top Series 1 baseball cards. And anybody can buy those, and it's really fun. But what's really fun is in those packs, anybody can pull a really, really valuable card, really rare and exclusive card, and what's also fun is depending on how high up the ladder you want to go, there's really, really high end products out there like Panini Flawless or, where some of these cards, they literally have diamonds pressed into the cards and then the athletes sign them. So there's a real physical value to it in addition to the intrinsic value it holds by being signed by your favorite athlete or whatever. So
somebody recently got the Caleb whatever special rookie card or whatever. I saw on Twitter someone pulled it.
Caleb very recently. The fun part with some of them, and this is one thing that does make them more exclusive, is that the athletes do physically sign these stickers and these cards. So sometimes they sign the stickers and they put the stickers on the cards. It makes them not as valuable. Still very valuable to have.
Too, they'll sign jerseys.
Right.
Baseball.
I've got, like I said, I have the Drew Brees helmet back there that I got from like a mystery box, basically.
Wow. Nice.
But when they physically sign the cards, it affords some really cool opportunities for them to just write whatever they want on there. So Caleb Williams has a green rookie card that says Green Bay sucks. Caleb Williams.
I love it.
And
exactly. Yeah.
Somebody paid buku bucks for it because it's the only card in the world that Caleb Williams wrote Green Bay sucks on.
Yeah.
That's
the one I was talking about. Yep.
Yeah, it's really cool. Somebody paid something like $250,000 for that or something ridiculous. But
crazy. That's awesome.
I'm not in it for that. I'm in it because I think it's cool. I'm trying at this point to collect one like really nice high-end card from each of the rookie quarterbacks from last year. So I've got a nice Jaden Daniels autograph, and I've got a nice super short printed Caleb Williams card now. So I think I'm moving on to Drake May for the next one.
Are your sons into it?
My oldest is a little bit. He's more into Pokemon cards at this point in time. He's not super into sports, but we do collect Pokemon from time to time. It's gotten a little harder recently because scalpers have really gotten a hold of that market. So we've slowed down quite a bit recently, but I pulled them out a couple weeks ago. I've got my entire Pokemon card binder right here with, all kinds of stuff. And some of his cards are in here too. And this is 360 cards in here. So
wow.
Those are just the ones worth putting in the binder.
What's your address again?
Yeah.
I'll be over there later tonight.
At any rate, I just wanted to shout out.
Zim is I know you're Puerto Rican. At any rate. See, I can get away with jokes like that.
I just wanted to point out that I've been having a lot of fun with it. I wanted to shout out to anybody out there interested in getting into sports card, getting into breaking or anything like that. I have a room that is run by some very trusted people. I've never had issues with them, and their prices are some of the best out there. Again, I'm not trying to advertise or anything, just trying to reach out to fellow enthusiasts who might have an itch they're trying to scratch.
Very cool.
You interested, Jeff?
I mean, I got a few itches I'm trying to scratch, but I don't know if those are quite the ones I'm trying to get to.
That is perfect. I don't know, man. I think the days of me collecting sports athlete cards are over. Now, if you told me like stripper cards,
they make them.
I know they do.
Nice.
I'm gonna start my collection.
That's hilarious.
You're kidding me? You wouldn't. You would be amazed. No, you wouldn't. But
what happened to the days of just collecting Playboy magazines? Does anybody do that anymore?
No,
I don't think Playboy prints anymore.
I don't think so either. Yeah.
Weirdly enough, though, somebody I was just listening to on a podcast, their girlfriend collects old Playboys and like just keeps them around the house as like bathroom decor.
She does.
Yeah, she does.
My cousin did that for years.
He's like, that's weird. And she's like, no, like, yeah.
No offense.
It's the perfect spot for a nudie mag, Aldo.
Yeah. No offense, Tooch, but I'm going to keep this picture up over your face for the rest of the show.
All right, I'm a backdoor man, Aldo.
Don't we know it? All the way back though.
Every time.
That's a good title. That's a good title for a podcast. All the way, man, with Johnny Santucci. All right, everybody. We will. Will we be back this week? Let's see. Today's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
After Wednesday, I'm on vacation for that long weekend.
Oh, okay. I will give you a call. The construction project at my house was stalled. No work at all for a week because the custom cabinets that we ordered were delayed. But they get going again after 4 or 5 business days where nothing happened. They get going again tomorrow. So hopefully this shit will be over soon. So So that way I don't have to masturbate down here in the basement. I could do it upstairs in front of the big TV. All right, fellas, really enjoyed doing the show with you guys, and you guys in the chat. Thank you very much for sticking with us the entire show. Really appreciate it. Until next week, we'll see you then. Bye-bye.